Power Project family, how's it going? Now, we have been eating legendary pastries for a while now. They also have sweet rolls, which are new, but these are the best tasting high protein snacks that you'll be able to find. The pastries are around, let's see, 180 calories, 20 grams of protein, 5 grams of net carbs. The sweet rolls, oh baby, the sweet rolls, 200 calories, 20 grams of protein, 5 grams of net carbs, and they taste amazing. Andrew, where can they get it?
They taste incredible. Head over to eatlegendary.com and at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject to save 20% off your entire order. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
All right, there we go.
You even sound handsome. That's pretty good.
You call me handsome? Thank
Yeah,
you.
handsome guy. You said you're 45, right?
45, yeah. Someone the other day was like, how old are you, 38? I'm like, not really, but thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, you're like, I'll take that.
Yeah.
So I got an experiment going on, and I'd like to get your take on this, Vinny. These guys, they think that you need to like wash your towel all the time.
Wash your towel?
Yeah, your towel that you use for the shower. Okay. And so I was like, let me do a little experiment. So I'm on like day 12 now of not washing this towel, and it still doesn't smell. It doesn't mean it's not dirty. It doesn't mean that there's not like weird microbes in there or something that might kill me. But, you take a shower, you get clean in the shower, right? I think. And then you dry yourself off with it. And as long as you dry the towel out, as long as you don't throw it on the ground, then it's good to go.
So who's doing this test?
Me.
No, but who
Independent study.
wanted you to do the test?
Well, we
These
we talked about it on the show, so I started doing it.
You wash your towel every day?
Every day, no, but like at least every 4 or 5 days.
I would go like, I would
that
definitely
shit.
go like 3. 12 is a little extreme. I'm not gonna lie. I might start to get some kind of natural like sub funk that you don't even know about. Dude, right?
I'm just trying to save the planet.
Well, okay, this is the thing. You know what's actually good about this? It's just proof that you wash yourself well, because there's still people out there who don't wash their asshole. Like they don't.
Well, so that's so I brought this experiment up to my wife. And she goes, it might depend on like how hard you're like drying and like where you're drying. So if you get like way up in the asshole to dry,
it's still an asshole.
But I let my asshole drip dry.
That's good.
So,
or you can't smell anything, and you haven't known it for the past 4 years. You have really bad sense of smell.
Yeah, it might just be getting awful. Who knows?
Are you serious though that you drip dry your ass?
Yeah,
Dude.
yeah. I mean, I dry everything off, but I don't like get in my asshole to dry it off.
You just leave that thing moist, and you just walk around with the moist booty hole.
Man.
Really?
You know it's moist all the time.
How did this go in this direction?
I don't know.
For some reason, every time I get on a podcast, assholes and tits and porn come up. It must be. I don't know how.
Oh, you want to talk about porn?
We can't.
Oh man, let's hold off on that. We'll just go right into porn now. It's gonna go in there somehow with me being here.
It always goes in there.
Oh my
It's
god.
gonna happen. I just figured, Nsima is always bringing his buddies on from Africa and stuff like that. So I figured I bring in an Italian New Yorker over here, right? That's what happened, right?
You did bring an Italian on, get back to your roots. You're right. I brought Samo Kunola on, and, so
Thanks for pointing that out, Jesus.
yeah. It's like Mark is actually speaking factually right now, guys. It wasn't a joke.
Oh my God.
We just got to talk about what you said about Tipupula. Remember that shit?
Yeah.
We won't bring that up.
I appreciate you being here today. Thank you so much,
man,
and
thanks
thanks for being patient with us over here. We're a bunch of animals. But I started seeing your channel. I started seeing what you had going on Instagram, and I didn't even really realize that it was so new.
Yeah.
You haven't really been. Your buddy Mike was mentioning that you guys were filming some stuff on your phone, and that was only a couple months back, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, so how I started this was, I was telling you a little bit before that, I was a construction worker for so many years, 20 years. And working, guys are like, oh, when I was about to have kids, like, oh, you'll never see the inside of a gym again. So I decided to build a gym at my house. I went over the top. I took my car and a half garage. I made it a crazy.
Got any pictures maybe on your Instagram or something, or you have?
I might have the old gym,
Okay.
definitely of the new one, and I could pull up Instagram. My buddy who did the work, it's crazy. He did the whole video strolling.
Yeah, Mike was telling me. It's
Yeah,
sick.
yeah. So I built a gym at my house, and then I started training one of my buddies, Gregor Gillespie. He's a 155 in UFC when he's in the up and coming ranks. He was just winning. He's like the devil himself on the ground with wrestling. He's like one of the best wrestlers around. And his Instagrams was growing. I started an Instagram page. Before you know it, just to sum it up short, I had a waiting list to train people. I was going back and forth in and out of union, and I never really loved it, to be honest. You know, and training is my passion, and I was telling you, I was going in for OSHA, like 36 course. It's like a safety course. I was like, yo, this doesn't feel right, man. It just doesn't feel right. I turned around and never went back. Grew my training business. I started training athletes, wrestlers, bodybuilders, and he went up in the UFC, and you know, and then I started. I had a social media page, I said, and I was tinkering around with it a little bit, you know. And I got to thank my wife so much. She always knew that I could do this because she would hear the passion pour out of me and how I talk with emphasis and how much I believe in it. And I was kind of looking for somebody, and I found him. He just knows how to project who I am on
Looking
camera.
for somebody to edit and stuff.
Edit, but really like to get like, because Mike hears me all the time, like I talk with, and I believe it in my heart. I'm not bullshitting people. You know, I'm not gassing people. It's just the things I've done and I truly believe. And he knew how to put it out there. And then like, dude, it seems surreal, bro. I was watching you 8 weeks ago, 6 weeks later. My Instagram caught like gasoline on fire. And here I am. I saw you message me. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. This is crazy. And this is how here I am, bro. So honestly, man, it's just all, I'm blessed in the fact that I get to do something I truly love for a living. I really love what I do.
Was it hard to make the switch from when you were a construction worker? Like, you know, did it take a while to like build the money back up and stuff like that?
Well, as in terms of this, my wife's a teacher, so I have the insurance covered that way, right? So that gave me a lot of leeway to do it. But honestly, man, like why it didn't make sense is because I'm like, wait a minute. When I was training people, I'm like, I'm going to work all day, standing in the cold on a deck, getting yelled at, going, what did I do wrong? I'm making more money at night doing something I like in 3 hours in Lululemons. Why the hell would I do it? Right? Right?
Yeah. Why did it take you 20 years?
I'm telling, dude, right. But I couldn't have accrued that knowledge at 26.
I see. Makes sense.
It takes a lifetime. You know
right,
what I'm saying? It takes a lifetime to know what I know.
Hate to derail, but when you said Lululemons, dog, what do you like? When did you discover how Lululemons feel? Okay. When did he put you on?
And did you make fun of him the first time you saw him?
I did, bro.
Yeah.
Yo, he wears pants and stuff. I'm like, yo, I'd never wear that. I put him on, I'm like, yo, he's actually don't look.
Yeah, then the girls are like, hey, man, Mike's looking pretty good. And you're like, wait, what?
Michael, yo, man, he knows more stuff. But I'm like, yo, what cologne is that? What shoes is that? I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about right now. All right, but I'll try it.
Hey, man, that shit lasts forever. But I don't know if I missed it, but when did you stop or like when did you start training people? Because it was construction training. Was it when you were in your 30s or?
No, actually. So my son was 39. And probably when I started training Gregor, right soon after, he's like, yo, I got a couple of kids who want to train with you. I'm like, all right. I didn't have a social media page yet.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. I started training them, you know, doing like what I
Make
believe
sure you
in.
tune in and watch the video of this because you got to see the hands.
Sorry,
the whole
bro.
time.
I'm just like, but yeah, I started training people and athletes. Then, you know, I just started a social media page. My friend Sean actually, who thought of my name, my friend Sean I grew up with, he called Vinny Uzi and sounds good. And then I just started posting a little bit on my own. He helped me a little bit, Gregor, and Sean helped me. And, you know, I got help from other people, but I was terrible at it. Dude, you don't even know how bad I am with a computer. It's actually, it's bad. But, you know, I just love training. And then it just a couple people and I was like, wow, I saw the power of social media. I didn't even open my eyes to that. He saw him train him. And then before you know it, in my little circle, I had a waiting list and I was happy with that.
Yeah.
But then it came to a point, there's only so much of me that could go around, right? My knowledge and what really made me do this, right, is I was at a party, New Year's Eve party last year. And I was just, you know, I had a couple of drinks with me. I'm talking to somebody about diet and whatever I was talking about. And before you know it, I had 12 people with a clipboard sitting around like that. I was like, yo, man, holy shit. Someone's like, yo, you should have a YouTube channel. I was told that before, but I'm like, yo, what if I did this on a big platform? And that's what really, you know, my buddy George, I was telling you before, and like I said before, my wife knew this would happen.
Tank Sinatra.
Tank Sinatra. He's like, bro, he's like.
Where you at, Tank?
He knew I could do this. He told me years ago. He's like, bro, you look cool, you're smart, you look good, and you sound cool. I'd want to listen to you. You know, and then what really made me do this last time, he goes, you're a pussy. You're not going to do it. I said, oh, I'm a pussy? Dude, I don't even care what I spent or throw the whole kit and caboodle in. I'm like, I'm going to do it. You'll see. I'm like, I don't even care. I told him, I don't even care if I have the best looking page and go broke. I don't care. I'm just going to prove everyone wrong, and I did it. Here I am.
Yeah, it's great. And what I noticed about some of your content was that the a lot of the clips were quick, and it kind of made me think like, oh, I want to see more. So like a lot of times, some content that's created, you're trying to give context to it. You know, people will try to give context because if I say a low carb diet is good, well, then I got to give a lot of context, and I got to talk about how there's other diets that are good. It's really just about how you can follow your diet. But with a lot of your content, I saw it was just clipped, but it was also clipped very short.
Okay, so I think what it's clipped short is a lot of people, see, I like to listen to the science. I don't get bored by the dry science. I enjoy it. People don't want to know that. How do you do it? This what it is and how it works.
Yeah.
That's it. So I kind of deliver a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like don't eat that insulin. Insulin makes you fat. And you don't want to know why. Most people don't, right?
No,
I like
true.
the science. I could listen to that dry ass over and over and listen, look it up. Most of the masses don't want to do that. That's why I keep it a little short.
What do you think is being around gyms for so long and being somebody that's been going to the gym since you were like 12 years old?
Yeah.
And I'm similar age than you and went to gyms on the East Coast. And I remember like the whole thing was about being big. There really wasn't much about being skinny that I could recall. I don't remember.
No, bigger, scariest guy on the block.
I don't remember anyone trying to be like skinny or even like aesthetic in some ways. Like it was a mirror, like the mirror was kind of frowned upon. Like people didn't really look in the mirror. You didn't see anybody with their shirt off in the gym. Like that's a newer thing.
Well, cameras all over the gym.
Yeah. And there
gym.
certainly wasn't like the phones and stuff like that you see everywhere. What is true about being big, and why is it important? Like, why do you think it's important for people to get kind of big and strong, like have that be almost like a foundational thing?
Okay, so why I believe it's big and strong and thick, it's a good basis if you're going to be a weightlifter, right? So even let's just take a sport, for instance, right? You're an athlete. To have a good solid base, a muscular, heavy, strong base is a foundation for a contact sport. Maybe wrestling, football, something to that. You need a good solid base. Weightlifting and strength training is essential in athletic performance, 100%. That's why, all right? So the look, as you kind of bring it up, kind of changed over the years, right? So I remember when I was a kid, I was telling you a little before, the gyms I went to growing up had no treadmills.
Yeah.
It was a man's gym. Men's gym, bro. And like I said, I don't want to sound like the kid who used to walk to school barefoot in the snow, but I kind of was. I rode my bike miles in my thin-ass Raiders jacket, blowing my hands. Used to go when I was 12 years old, right? So the first time I went, my dad actually had to sign a waiver so I could go there. And I would go and I would bench and I would curl. And, I had little natural muscles when I was wrestling. I kind of looked like a little Bruce Lee, And I remember I was telling you, like, it was either James or Steve Tracy. He looked like he was the poster boy for the Marines. Just so he looked like Maverick from Top Gun, just way bigger and better looking. He taught me how to bend and split it up. He's like, dude, what are you doing? You got to do it this way. And I would go consistently over and over. And I remember I would look at these guys, man. I just always remember some reason. Like, remember Steve Mahalik? Steve Mahalik, he was a guy he did a thing at the gym. But anyway, so it was a man's gym. I remember guys used to come from work. And like back then, guys wore jeans and work boots to the gym and flannels. And this guy, Jesse, he had this white, blonde, gray hair ponytail. And it was common. He would rep 405 on the incline, and nobody really looked too much, but gyms back then, like everybody did 315. I was even telling the story that I told before. Like gyms had 315 contests. Now a kid puts 315, but everyone's like, yo, you got to stop and look. Yo, back then you can't do 315. You got to go home. They would do 315, right? And this dude, Tommy Steinbeck, huge dude, 6 and change, veins, sleeveless shirt. He came in, he put 405 and stopped at 20. Braxton goes, tell me how the rest of the competition goes. True story. Another kid, do you remember Jimmy Pelleccia?
Yeah, I do.
Jimmy the Bull. So, okay. He did these crazy numbers back then. Yo, the guy was strong. So when I was, I think, 18, and I was big, I worked at a nutrition store of his that was next to Ken's.
How great of a name is that?
Jimmy Pelleccia.
Jimmy Pelleccia. Jimmy the Iron Bull, right? Curl 150, whatever, right? So now granted, everyone's like, oh, his numbers are bullshit and this and that. I spotted him doing skull crushes with 405. He actually had 405 on the bar. And let's just say he wasn't doing full range, but he was breaking his elbows with 405 and I wasn't touching it.
Ooh, jeez.
Okay. Strong guy.
Like a skull crusher?
Yes.
Oh my God.
So I have first, experienced spotting him with doing that kind of weight. Guy was a strong guy for his day.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm curious about this thing because you said you just got on social media like a few years ago. What, being a gym OG and you've been training for almost all your life, what do you kind of dislike about social media and fitness? Because you're new in the space and you're seeing it all.
Didn't I just say that before?
I'm like, I know the aesthetic side of things and mirrors, but like when you see people putting things forward, what are some things where you're like, fuck that? I'm just curious.
Okay, a couple things I could touch on with this. I'll say it again. Is this the Ken doll look in the gym, right? Wearing like a man where he's like so tan, wearing Gymshark and like posing me with a camera stuff. I'm like, yo, what are you doing, bro? Do you have any shame? Or like there's 3 girls on the squat rack, right? And they're in their house. They think they have 3 cameras set up and they're posing. They're doing the same rep over and I'm going, holy fuck, what am I looking at right now? I was blown away.
Yeah,
I can't even And another thing I want to talk about. Those are the 2, and then while I'm still here. Is with training now. I believe in all the stuff I've done. Basic movements. And yes, for a sport, right? What correlates to the sport? What movements correlate to the sport, right? So I trained this kid I trained, I'm not going to mention his name, trained him all through high school.
Stay a little closer to the microphone.
I trained him all through high school. And he wound up going to a Division I wrestling program, right? When he got there, he texted me. He's like, bro, yo, these kids are 22 out of college and they're making me hold the fucking bowl on a bullshit thing, like doing this. He's like, I don't even know what they're making me do. He went back to my program because it works. Lifting weights and in a certain way.
Yeah.
Not high rep for hypertrophy, you get sore, but in a certain strength way. Old school, basic movements work. Kids come out of college, they try to put too much science and they try to confuse you. Hula hoop, wizard. That doesn't work, bro.
Well, what's up?
Basic movements. Sure. Do you agree with me?
To some extent. I think in my own experience, I deteriorated my own athleticism through lifting, but I took lifting to a pretty far extreme.
You did.
So I think if you do the sport and you lift and you are still doing things that will continue to kind of educate your athleticism, then I think you're fine. And I think you can get a great benefit. But I think sometimes some people might stray and they might really go for that 500-pound squat. And it's like that 500-pound squat's probably not going to help you in your 40 time, the 500. However, aiming for a 400, 500-pound squat could be something that could put a body weight on you. And that might be totally appropriate because you might be a defensive tackle or you might be an offensive lineman. You might need that body weight. And so having that goal of hitting those weights, because we know that by having that goal of doing that kind of weight, that it takes rest and it takes food, it takes recovery, it takes a certain stimulus in the gym. So I definitely would agree with you on that note.
So let me go a little deeper on that. Okay. So when I say wizard, all right, I'm not talking about like, I'm so basic. So you see a lot of explosive dynamic one-arm landmine for punching, for velocity. Works, yes. I'm not talking about that. That definitely correlates and is usable. I'm talking about some really off-the-mark stuff. I'm like
what? Just curious.
I honestly, like, for instance, he explained to me, I didn't get to see it, but he's like, dude, this coach has me holding a kettlebell. I'm standing on one thing and like,
I get you.
That would not make you a better wrestler. I'm going to give you a story. I like stories, right? I'm not going to mention any names. So one of my friends was a very decorated Long Island wrestler, right? Well, I'm going to West Virginia, and he was talking about this one guy who came in, and my friend was good. He's like, he could out-trick you, out-slick you. He's like, yo, I started going with this guy, man. The guy fucked me up, bro. He's like, holy shit, bro, that never happened to me. He goes, I'm going to come back next. I got him. He goes, it was even worse. He goes, wow, that guy's just better than me. I've never even come across this. Hit the weight room. The guy came in the weight room, couldn't even bench 185.
The guy that was kicking his ass.
Kicking his ass. Came in, weights that correlate this, but came the next day, kicked off his Timberlands with no warm, was clean in 365. Everyone's like, holy shit. Correlate to the sport. Right. So one of my kids also told me went to whatever school, and he goes, yeah, the guy has me benching, I was stuck at this weight, and now I'm benching it for a double. I'm like, why are you doing doubles if you're a wrestler? You're going to blow your pec out. Unless you're doing that on your own, which I don't think so.
It might be too risky.
Doesn't correlate to sport. Now, if you're a football player and you got to push, you got to think about it. Whenever you design a program, leg day first, you do the dynamic day, Then you do movements that correlate to the sport, and then a bodybuilding day, right? That's how you break down the science of a program.
Sounds a lot like a West Side barbell type stuff.
So a lot of trainers for sports performance, they do a conjugate system that correlates, which is great. Dynamic upper, max effort lower, and then you flip it around. Because you only lift twice a week, usually maybe 3, it's because you got to do a lot of skills as a fighter. All right. So now being a good coach and a good trainer, you got to know your athlete, you got to know the sport and the movements that correspond to it. And how you learn that? By doing it and experience. You can't come out of school and tell somebody how to do it unless you do it. That's what I really truly believe.
Now, let me ask you this. When you were training, when you were working construction and you weren't training people, how were you navigating fitness in your life at that point in time? Because your job must have been extremely physical anyway, but you were still in love with the gym, right?
I just made it a point, no matter what. I trained every day. More when I was younger, bodybuilding. Bodybuilding, no matter how tired I was, cold all day. Took the train home. I got a 30-minute nap a lot of times to recover. And then I'd train every day. I'd work out with weights and do my cardio. And then as I got a little older, I shifted my training, right? So I was mostly a bodybuilder all through my kid days and into my 20s.
Yeah.
And then one of my close friends was a pro MMA fighter, lost a couple fights. He was really good, superstar athlete, very genetically gifted, 2-sport pro. And he goes, I want to bodybuild with you a little bit. I said, all right, cool. Went to the gym. After 6 months, he goes, yo, why don't you try to fight and stuff? I said, okay. Went to Belmore Kickboxing, very known MMA gym.
And how old were you at the time?
I was in actually my mid to late 20s. I started late. And I actually caught the bug, and I wound up fighting a bunch of times competitively. And then, I lift the weights, and more which shifted now. I still train very often with the younger guys into whatever my capability can be. And my training did shift from being just a bodybuilder into more of an athlete. And that opened my eyes up more to train for athletic performance. How I learned to train an athlete or a fighter. Because I did it. I know what works. That's why.
And it still doesn't mean that you don't do a bent over row. Still doesn't mean that you don't do a deadlift.
No, you do it that corresponds to the sport, though. You don't do 15 squeeze reps. You do explosive penalty rows, and there's different ways you could tweak and twist.
And the reason why you might not do that is because you can't afford to be sore all week.
Right. So how I learned that also with trying it. One of my friends who's in UFC, not to mention names, he's like, yo, man, could you shift a little bit? I got really sore after last week. I go, that's what I'm going to do. I made the reps lower, bigger rests, and I shift around. He didn't get sore. For his skills training, jiu-jitsu and boxing, etc.
I think that's a key point that we maybe, I don't know, there's something about where if we're going to do something, we want to do it so hard. We were talking about running earlier, and I was like, forget running, maybe just try to jog and go real light, go real slow, and forget about how you ran when you were younger. And I think sometimes when it comes to lifting, I think similar, especially when you're an athlete, over time you can lift harder and harder, and you can do more and more, and you can figure out what's appropriate for you. But I think doing a movement of a deadlift, doing a movement of a bench press, doing a movement of a squat, I think these movements, they have tremendous value, but I don't know, you got to kind of weigh out the risk to reward. As you were mentioning with the bench press, somebody could tear a pec. I mean, you could get hurt with some of these things. You could make yourself too sore to where it negatively impacts the sport. I think Nsima, you don't really squat nearly as often with a barbell, but you do other types of squats, right? Yeah. And you mentioned your legs are smaller than they used to be. And probably some of that is because you're not doing so many things to recruit as much muscle fibers and stuff like that. You're not doing as much breakdown through lifting, but maybe you're doing some breakdown through jiu-jitsu and stuff like that, right?
Well, I mean, I'll still do stuff like lunges. I'll still do hack squats and maybe ATG split squats and all those things. Like hamstring movements, but I don't need to squat anymore as much as I used to. And in terms of the leg size thing, the legs have gotten a little bit smaller, but it doesn't matter. At least in the context of jiu-jitsu, I don't need to have, it's not like I'm trying to bodybuild and I need the biggest quads and hamstrings that I needed before. It's just that, I need the legs to be able to have endurance, move well. And
your value shifted.
Yeah, the value shifted.
Sure.
But that's actually what I wanted to ask you about, because I don't know if you went from focusing on bodybuilding style training to then training like a fighter. Do you remember some hurdles that you had that maybe you did? Because training like a bodybuilder, you look a certain way. So you look dominant, you look big.
I can tell you what made it shift. I couldn't move.
Okay, so but go into that. How did you have to shift, and what were those drawbacks?
So I was lifting weights. I started fighting.
Yeah.
Immobile, stiff, thick. Got fucked up the first couple of times. I'm like, yo, this isn't working like this. Then I felt like my hips I just have naturally tight hips anyway. So squatting heavy didn't help that. So I started to I lifted weights a lot less often. My body got looser. Started lifting more. I tightened up. I figured out what worked for me. Putting heavy weights on my back for 8 to 10, but I would do pin squats for 5, where I stopped and didn't cause as much of that deep soreness and hypertrophy.
Not squatting down as low.
Bro, no, I would do it for strength and explosiveness more. So how I really learned this also, my friend Tony Ritchie, very known strength trainer, lives down in Florida now. He actually, and how you ask people and absorb, even though you kind of know, but you ask help from other people. Even though I know how to weight train, I've been doing it my whole life. This is just a different look at things. And he designed a program for me. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do 5 reps with 15% of that. Dude, it was super explosive fast. 5 sets, rest area, jump squats. Yo, I felt like I had a workout, but I have no pump. It was just exercise, explosive fast movement. Best I ever performed in a fight. That opened my eyes to that even more on what I did, how I applied it, and then how I performed in the ring. That's how I knew it worked. So reflect on that. When I first started training people and I started going into this and conditioning workouts, right? So you could do ball slams, Swiss ball, bike sprint, there's a whole combination of different things, okay? So I was listening to this one, it's made me second guess myself. And maybe, I don't know, I'm listening to this one Swiss trainer, a guy from Switzerland. He's like, oh yeah, he was trying to simulate the ups and downs and the lulls of a 5-minute round. And then it dawned on me, like, you can't simulate that on a assault bike and a kettlebell. You got to do it. How do you get your cardio better for sparring? Sparring. How do you get your cardio better for doing jujitsu? Jujitsu, all that does, the word now is GPP, when you do these workouts to get your overall general physical preparation better for when you do the sport. You're not going from 0 to 1 billion. That's what that's for. Like carrying a wheelbarrow. How you get better at the sport is by doing the sport itself.
So let me ask you this. In terms of working with your fighters or wrestlers or whatever, you don't really focus on having them do conditioning work when they're with you like that?
Not so much. Some.
Okay.
I do with my guy Gregor, because it's what we do and it's fun and we enjoy it, and he beats his times, and he's just a different specimen on the planet. No, he doesn't. I've never seen him get tired. It's, it's unbreakable. But anyway, for most of it though, I believe in the strength, the conditioning you do with your sport. You want to go for a run and do all this stuff? I believe in strength training for my athletes. That's what I'm very good at with them. All right. So, pretty much.
And do you recommend, do they have coaches that work on their conditioning maybe otherwise, or are they, to your point, I
do conditioning workouts with some of them. For the most, though, they come to me for strength.
And their conditioning is probably in the sport. They're getting conditioned when they go to jiu-jitsu.
Like I said, they go for run. Okay, let's just take some of my wrestlers. They go for their long runs on their own. And then I think for me also, right, you got to look at recoverability. You're doing your skill, you're lifting weights with me, and then you're going to do a conditioning workout where I think the percentage of how much that matters is nil. Most of it should be spent on the skill itself and then recover. Because working out at the end of the day is breakdown. You got to even recover from that. People don't take that into accountability a lot of times.
Yeah.
You have to recover from your work. For me, I know my body. I've tried everything because I enjoy working out. I've tried lifting weights more often during the week, and I just don't recover. I can feel it. My chest feels like they feel the word I use is crunchy. It just doesn't feel right. And you ignore it, and then you fuck yourself up. You're like, I did it again. You think you learn from your mistakes, you do it again. I know, and there's deload weeks, but, and you do it by accident. They just go, yo, I didn't lift weights for 10 days. I was on vacation. I came back. I was stronger than before. Rest. You need to break down and rest. So.
Yeah. No, I can understand that from a jiu-jitsu context, because you can definitely push yourself in sparring rounds. For example, if you have multiple sparring rounds, just don't stop. Even when you're tired, focus on trying to increase your conditioning there on the mats. But when you're not there, especially if you do train often, when you're in the gym, you don't need to do more ball slams and you don't need to do more conditioning work to increase that. This is the place where you need to increase your strength. You know what I mean? So that makes a lot of sense.
So like this, like we said, risk for reward and time and recovery, because you only have so many hours in a day, hours in a week. How are you going to train? So let's all lay it out on a plate, right? What's going to make you better at jiu-jitsu? Yes, weight training, check. Rolling more often, check. Maybe long distance runs in here. Ball slams and jumping over hurdles, that's the lowest on the totem pole. We don't really need that. If you had the time and you didn't work, you could do yoga and all that other shit, then maybe okay. But in reality, no.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you need a priority kind of checklist, right?
Yes, exactly. You do. In real life scenarios, yeah.
We were talking a little earlier about supplements, and the supplement game has changed so drastically. And you were talking about hot stuff, and I remember that from years ago. They just took like everything and like threw it in there. And I remember, I want to say that company got busted because it had like Dianabol in there.
Everyone hears some kind of mythical thing that hot stuff had. All I knew is that I was big and I was a giant pimple. So there's definitely something in it.
Yeah, it was
more than puberty.
It was like there was like fat burning stuff in there, and then there was like protein and carbs, and it was just like
banana flavored hot stuff.
I don't know.
And warm milk.
It's just like it tried to hit the market for everything. Like, this is going to get you big and ripped and like do everything for you.
So the old school, there it is. The old school gyms always had also.
Is it still for sale?
It smelled like
that isn't the original.
I was going to say it is, but it's definitely not the same formula.
It smelled like metal. Like when you.
That's how you knew it was good.
It had like little dark pieces in there. I remember shit. Who knows what was in it?
Yeah, it's banana flavor. Still same flavor.
But how you learn about that stuff is like the old school guys at the gym, right? So every old school gym had the stereotypical one crazy guy. And God rest his soul, I think he passed away now. Our front desk guy at Ultimate Gym was Crazy Larry. He used to wear the Mike Christian head thing, wear flannel, egg whites and apple juice. That's what gets you jacked. Egg whites and apple juice. And yo, man, I was eating egg whites and apple juice because Crazy Larry told me to do it.
Probably killed your stomach.
Oh my God.
Right?
Dude, I remember trying to get big, right? And I was on a mission. I was in high school. I remember, and I tell people, this is what it takes. That's what kids don't understand, bro. This is what it takes, right? I've made it a goal. I would eat a jar of peanut butter, have a steak, and drink a gallon of milk every fucking day. Every day. Yo, and in high school, I went from like 120s to like almost 180.
Your parents bought you this shit, or you bought it on your own?
A little of both. Yeah. That was the goal. I did what it takes. And then like I would eat 2 turkey sandwiches dipped in jars of mayonnaise. I'd do crazy shit. But I got big doing it. People don't understand. This is what it takes. If you want to do it, you got to sacrifice.
I remember I went on a cut in junior year in high school, and I didn't know anything about cutting because I was pretty heavy at the time. So I was just like, I started reading a little bit about macro counting, and I saw this 1,000-calorie diet. So I was like, oh, okay, let me just eat 1,000 calories a day, and I'll start to drop.
Perfect.
It's gonna be fine, right? And I remember like on the second week I was in class, and I was just like, like I almost fucking fainted, and I was like, let me go look this shit up. And it's just way too low. I was too big for that shit. But it's just the stupid shit you try as a kid to get in shape. It's fun, you know?
Yeah,
how prevalent were drugs? Did you hear people talking about steroids and stuff like that when you were going to the gym when you were young, or?
This is the thing with me. I educated myself on drugs oddly young, so I was pretty educated to a certain extent. All right. But was it as prevalent? Yes and no. Like the gym I was telling you about, you'd actually see syringes in the bathroom. All right.
Damn.
And then like was it like maybe the mid 90s, I started going to a more commercial gold gym that had the fitness bunnies and the huge guys with the fanny packs and whatever, right? I'm sorry, I'm bringing back old school shit.
I love it.
Bringing back stuff out of my head. And there was more like, see back then, and there was the drugs. And like back then though, the look was to be as big and scary as you could be. There was 300-pound guys who like lived around the block from you. The look changed today, which honestly for health reason, and it is a better look, like the classic physique, like Chris Bumstead looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
He looks Sergey Constance, he look great in clothes. You want the look where a girl's like, I want to take him down, and the guy's like, I want to look like him. That's a good look. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the look. But anyway, as in terms of health reason, I'm getting, it's a healthier shift today. Even though I make fun of the little Ken doll in the corner, it's overall, it is a better, because you can't live like that. Eating Anadrol 50s and pumping a gram of test in your body, you're not going to live a long life like that. And I talk about cardiomyopathy a little bit. That shit happens. That shit's real. People don't know that. That's also the thing. These young kids, they're not educated with drugs. They're starting jamming this shit in their body. Trying to, like, do you even know the health ramifications of what this shit does, bro? Lipid profile. Like, what's a lipid profile? I'm like, what? Yeah, you got to learn this shit.
What can it do to your heart? Do you know?
Steroid abuse or steroid use?
Yeah, steroid or either one.
Okay. So there's two different things, right? We could abuse anything in this world. Right? If you ate, I like using this analogy. What analogy am I going to pick up? A whole plethora of them. All right, let's use the cheeseburger one.
Okay.
If you ate one
cheeseburger.
McDonald's, I love cheeseburger. My favorite. If you ate one cheeseburger, right, a week, a McDonald's burger, which is fucking terrible for you, you live forever. If you ate 2 a day, you're going to fuck yourself up. Most likely, right? Steroids are the same thing. You could use, and what gives them the bad stigmatism is the abuse of it. Professional bodybuilders, right? You get a guy 5'5" walking around 300 pounds. That shit's no good. You're pumping your body more than it, could handle. The use of it, if you cycle on and off, you could live a long time and be pretty healthy. It's scientifically proven testosterone, when it drops down in your older age, is detrimental in so many aspects, other than muscle mass loss, depression, which is a huge factor people don't even take into account. You can reverse all these things with just a small amount of optimal dosage of testosterone, not super physiological dosage.
Mm-hmm.
What about when people come off of this stuff? I don't think it's talked about enough. We see all these TRT clinics popping up, and I would imagine for as many people that get on it and get excited and try it, there's probably a lot of people who are like, I don't really dig, jabbing myself with this needle, and I'm just going to stop doing this. And then they just discontinue the usage, but then they probably are unaware of like a protocol of how to kind of come off it.
So we spoke about this before. So testosterone now the eyes have been opened a little more of the health benefits of it to the most part. Okay. Now, one of my clients, newer client, came to me, DM me, wanted me to help him train, whatever. And he came to me. Usually some people come to me when they're all fucked up. I'm like, it's easy. I give them a top surface shit and they're good. Him, I had to pump down a couple of gears. I'm like, this guy came in shape. He was knowledgeable. He trained. He was kind of jacked.
Mm-hmm.
Bang, I got to pull it down to like real deep knowledge. So I figured out a solution for his problem. Food, diet, whatever it was, right? I changed it a little bit, a little more than a little bit. Then I get to actually a question that was very top surface. I go, how old are you? He's like, I'm 40-something years old. I'm like, you should go get blood work. He's like, I actually know about testosterone. Whatever. He's like, oh yeah, actually, a doctor prescribed me testosterone. I'm like, and how do you feel?
That's where we should have fucking started.
Right. And I'm like, well, how do you feel? He's like, actually, I stopped. I was like, okay. And you took a, clomiphene citrate. He put you on, right? He's like, no, he just had me stop. I'm like, hold on a second. Wait a minute. I've heard this before. This is a medical practitioner prescribing testosterone to someone who has such lack of education to not know to give you something to kickstart your endocrine system. That should not happen.
Mm-hmm.
They should be more educated. If they have the ability to prescribe something like that, they should know the ramifications on the downside of what could happen if you do not prescribe someone or help somebody rebuild their body.
Yeah.
Do you agree with me?
Yes.
I think also too, you're going to have to probably warn somebody. Like if somebody was taking testosterone for a few weeks and they took it long enough to notice some of the benefits, and maybe they were feeling a little bit better or feeling a little bit stronger, but they still just kind of said the hell with it just because they just didn't want to do it anymore. Maybe they did have some negative feedback from the amount they were taking, or they literally just hated taking the shots and didn't want to do it anymore. You have to warn that person that your mood might change a lot. You might be irritable. You might be depressed. And what if it's a person that already has depression? Or what if it's a person that already has some anxiety, right?
So it's a very good question. So how we could go around this, right? So other than taking exogenous outside source testosterone, there are different pathways where people raise their testosterone using a synthetic driver to cause a natural response. So let's look at how testosterone is made. The HCG, luteinizing hormone tells the Leydig cells make testosterone. So instead of shooting outside source testosterone, TRT clinics all recognize this from what I've read. They use HCG to cause, it's an artificial signal to cause a natural response. So you're elevating your testosterone through a natural pathway. Even though it's driven by a synthetic driver, it's a natural end result, not as aggressive as you'd get the anger and the rage and all the side effects. So now another thing, let's take nanograms per deciliter in a human
And currently
being.
you're talking about HCG.
Well, HCG is a synthetic driver
Yeah.
to tell your Leydig cells to make testosterone.
Okay.
Okay, so what now they're doing, instead, not everybody wants the rubber cream or this pellet, whatever they take now or whatever. Might be a little bit too androgenic. So everyone has a different genetic response to low or high doses. So I could think of people right now. Someone I know was taking 150 milligrams. The guy wanted to run through a wall. It's too much for him. So what would be good for him maybe is doing something like HCG. It's a synthetic driver to cause a natural response through your dating cells. You follow me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, that's my suggestion for something like that.
I'm curious about this. We've talked about this all the time with a lot of people who come on and talk about hormone stuff. But for example, I found, years ago, there'd be nights that I'd go to sleep at 11 or midnight if I had extra work, and then nights that I'd go to sleep at like 10, right? And the nights I'd go to sleep a little bit too late, wake up the next morning, feel like shit. Nowadays, I'm asleep at like 8:39 almost every single night. Yeah. I wake up feeling amazing, right? And that's a simple thing.
All three of us are so old in terms of like when we go to bed.
Dog. If I 5 years ago, if I was hearing myself talk right now, I'd be like, you're a fucking loser. Going to sleep at 8:30 every single night. But sleeping at the same time every single night makes a big fucking difference. Huge, right? And it's not something that, it's not a supplement or whatever, but it's sometimes it's a big ask for some people, right? And the reason I'm mentioning this is because some people who are younger, they feel like, I'm not feeling driven, I'm not feeling motivated, and maybe they do get blood work done and their test isn't where they think it should be, but there's always lifestyle shit that you can do to get where you need to be, right? So how do you do things for yourself? And what do you usually suggest to people as far as lifestyle and maybe even supplementation is concerned before they take the route
That's
of
the last
TRT?
That's the last resort. I try to exhaust every other angle before you go that route. So make no mistake. That's not like, no, but you got to start shooting tests. No, let's go this route, this route, this route.
And a lot of coaches and trainers, it will be the first place they start.
That's not because they're fucked up. That's not what you do.
Right, because they want the guy to have like results right away.
I want people, so I'm going to go, that's an asshole. So I'm going to go back to the drugs, right?
That's an asshole.
What people don't understand is that a little goes a long way. Hormones are very strong. So now I'm going to go back to this. The human body makes, I think, 5 to 7 milligrams a day.
Of testosterone.
All right? 200 milligrams before it gets broken down into fucking other enzymatic changes. 200 milligrams dramatic. It causes a dramatic anabolic response in the body without offsetting your lipid profile or anything. So if you look at it, how many milligrams your actual body actually produces to 200, that's a lot of testosterone in the body. So people like these kids, they're under it, they just start shooting like 700 milligrams. Like, do you even know what you're doing? So now going back to what you were saying. So now you got to look at someone's lifestyle. So when I get a client, I break everything down. And then what happens, of course, is the asshole doesn't know, I smoke weed 7 days a week. I'm like, okay, right? You didn't tell me that, right? Which could blow your estrogen through the fucking ceiling, right? Anyway, I look at, so this is what I noticed, like you said, firsthand experience. Now I used to sleep like 5.5 hours. Just life didn't allow it.
Yeah.
And still life doesn't allow 8 hours. That's fucking impossible. Now I sleep like a
I just picture you laying in bed with your eyes wide open. And like you pop up before the alarm does. You fucking sit up like the Undertaker.
I do. The alarm doesn't wake me up. I just get up. I'm like anxiety, whatever it is. But anyway,
you're fired up.
Sleep is such an important facet for recovery, for your endocrine system, for everything. So even like, dude, if you go out and get fucked up, right? And like, dude, no matter how many egg sandwiches, vitamin drips, whatever you do, sleeping 8 hours smokes all that. You feel dynamic. You feel unbelievable. Just simple thing as sleep. And then what else? Diet you want to talk about? Now the diet. What are you eating? You'll find out people they really like, what I do with a client, right? I first start them, I go, let's look at different phases, right? I go, if you stop drinking. If you drink iced tea or whatever, it's all really usually about weight loss.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised how little people know. I'm like,
liquid calories.
I'm like, what do you drink? They're like, I drink like 6 iced teas a day. I'm like, you do what? You drink 6? I'm like, stop drinking your iced tea. That's once. If they do that, they start to lose weight. Be surprised how effed up people are, right? It's too late now. I F-bombed a million times, so I'm sorry. And then I do this, right? If it doesn't grow, don't eat it. Do Ritz crackers grow? I love Ritz crackers. I'm gonna say Snickers, but I love Snickers bar. Does that shit grow? No. Now let's go. If you just stick to a whole grown food diet, you'll change stuff that comes from the earth that God gave us. Then from there, I start messing with shit. Maybe keto. Some people don't respond well to that. Then before you go down to the nitty, because they'll start to lose weight. And then when you exhaust everything, then I start to do like what sucks, like a caloric macro pull down and low carbs and all that other shit, right?
Yeah.
But like, let's take an example. My friend Brett, right? I'll pull his name out. It doesn't matter. He's 400 pounds. He was 400 pounds. He stepped on the rail of my truck, broke off my Ram 1500. I'm like, yo, we got to do something, bro. right? So he comes to me, right? He's like smoking butts. He's fucking, right? He's a lot better now, right? So I'm like, bro, what do you eat? He's like, yo, I eat like 5 specialty slices and a calzone. I'm like, every night? He's like, every night. I go, hold on. I go, let's do this. I go,
Hey, you guys ever have calzone before?
Yeah. Well,
Banging.
I've had a California calzone.
No, that doesn't count.
I was gonna say not a legit calzone.
Okay, yeah. There's this place
they're
like
so good.
Calzone Palace or something. It's on DoorDash, but I forgot. But
It might be good.
I've had a California calzone.
Fucking so good.
so now I go like this, right? Besides the calzone and stuffed pizza. I go, give me 4 regular slices and a grilled chicken Caesar salad. Yo, that shit's delicious, bro. Now you're eating a third of the calories. You're still eating kind of what you want. You got to give me a little bit, you know? You're still eating what you want, and you're cutting your calories down dramatic. Now, if you can't do that, there's no hope for you. I can't help you. Sorry. And some people you just can't help. You know, but if you're willing to give me a little bit, I could show you a way, you know?
On that weed thing, I got to mention, there's 2 things, because like if you're someone who smokes, if you smoke close to bed, our 8 Sleep mattress tracks that shit, right? So I've done that before, smoking close to bed to see how's this going to fuck up my sleep. Heart rate's always a little bit higher. My my HRV is always a little bit lower. It's like my sleep is never as good by smoking before bed. So don't think that, because a lot of people nowadays smoke weed to sleep.
Because they like smoking weed. It's an excuse.
They like smoking weed. Yeah. But it's not good for your sleep. And also eating too close to bed, right? Okay.
Just cracking up.
I just
so hardcore. I love it.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, it's just an excuse.
And eating close to bed fucks up sleep too. If you just try eating a little bit away from your bedtime, let's say you sleep at 8:30 like me, try eating at 6, you know, instead of eating right before you go to sleep.
Well,
It
they
might
say
make a difference for
because your body's working to digest the food.
Exactly.
And your heart, you're kind of like working. You're not supposed to be working. I mean, I'm guilty of that. I eat like a fucking Thanksgiving dinner before I go to bed.
Yeah.
Just because I like to eat full. You know,
Me
even in shred mode, right? I would always, it's habitual, definitely, but I would figure out something what I like, right? So before bed, even in shred mode, if you're a snacker and you got to eat something, watching TV, I would pick something that takes work to eat, right? So like something like peanuts are a bad choice because you could smash down handfuls of them. Pistachios are an excellent choice because you got to eat one motherfucker at the time.
Unless they're already cracked open.
Nah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. One pistachio, and then I would do stupid shit like I'd measure my cereal and whatever, like half a cup and one at a time. But pistachios were a trick for me. Things I know through experience are tricks that you learn over the years that you can't read out of a book. You know?
Yeah.
People are like, oh, you're eating all those calories before bed? Yo, man, it works for me. All right? And maybe I won't eat them like then, but I'll eat them before bed because I want them. And I'm ripped. Say no.
What you got brewing over there, Andrew?
Dude, I'm loving this conversation. But Mark had sent us like a little bit of background on you. And he was like, yeah, he's from the East Coast. I'm like, no way. A guy named Vinny Uzi's from the East Coast. Didn't see that coming. But I love hearing like the old school days about like lifting on the East Coast. How you had to, ride your bike uphill both ways in the snow. Like that's all good stuff. But like from both you and Mark, like what's the like the biggest stark difference in like actual training methods from East and West Coast? I'm thinking like, is there any difference? Like maybe like dog crap training's more popular out there, or is it more like powerlifting chains in West Side where we don't have that over here in California sometimes? Anything like that?
So right off the top of my head, what I could tell you is like what's popular around me. F45 is pretty big right now. CrossFit kind of dying out. More functional kind of groupie stuff, maybe a little bit.
Wait, I'm going to the functional groupie stuff. What do you mean? What's the functional groupie
good.
shit? I'm so curious, Doc.
Okay, so functional group fitness, right? It's good for not a gym lover or someone who has drive. And I'm not against it.
Oh, someone who's tripping.
I'm being serious. You go to the gym, you show up, you don't have to think someone puts it together. It's excellent. They put you through a hard workout.
Okay.
That's why there's places like that. Someone like me, we love, I could design my own shit, and for people, they don't love it like that. They know they need to exercise. You got to work out. I'm not going to the gym and I'm not even going to take an app and look at it. They do it for me. I'm there for the shortest amount of time. I sweat. I'm in shape. My blood work's good enough for me. They pay it. That's what's popular around me. I'm sure it's popular on the West Coast too. It's not that much different from here to there. I mean, I was just driving here. It looked like the fucking BQE. I was like, yo, if I went through a time zone, I woke up, I'm like, yo, this doesn't look any different.
Wait, I might be dumb, but what's BQE?
Brooklyn Queens Expressway. It's a nightmare.
Okay. I knew it was Brooklyn, Queens, but I didn't know the rest.
Yeah, I'm lost with some of this shit.
Am I right or wrong? Right.
Right.
I don't really know if there's like a huge difference East Coast, West Coast in terms of like training, or if there ever was really. But
Training's training.
yeah, all I know is that I think it's the time, like it's the era, and I think if I was here, like, or if I was in L.A. training with Mike O'Hearn 20-something years ago, it was probably similar. In fact, when I did move to California, I was like 22 or 21. So it was like 20 something years ago. And the training was similar and the people were similar. There was just like bodybuilding was more popular. And then I would train at Gold's Gym Venice. So you would see like Flex Wheeler and stuff like that was like completely shocking to me. You know, I was like, what the, I had friends and stuff, or my brother's friends, my oldest brother's friends were jacked and stuff, but they weren't fucking Flex Wheeler. You know what I mean? They didn't look like that. So, but yeah, the training was similar. Like people just even flex. And even when I saw Charles Glass training people, it was old school methods. People were just, the work was the same. People were working very hard. Yeah. People were overloading with heavy weight. I saw, Flex and other bodybuilders there, Paul Dillette and a bunch of other people they would just go as heavy as they could within reason and still had like good form and stuff like that. So a lot of it seemed like it was pretty similar.
Yeah, training. I mean, human being is a human being. I mean, really, like here to California is pretty close to the same. Like Long Island's a hotbed of bodybuilding. Like there's tons of bodybuilders there. Being jacked in the 90s and even the early 2000s or 80s, it's probably pretty close to California, West Coast. Now, I can't say that about Missouri. I could definitely say that about like Florida.
Yeah, that's
here, New York, and California.
You're bringing up a good point because in Ohio it was different. Like at West Side, it was different, and even some of the gyms I've been to around the area, it was just different. Like the weather is so different, so vastly different that everything's different. But it reminds me of a story. My brother, I think he was in like Arkansas or something. I don't remember why he was there. But he went into like a store and he started talking to somebody and they were just like making conversation. Like they weren't trying to be rude. They were just being silly. And they were like, "You're not from here, right?" It's like, and the guy said something like, "Go back to California," or something like that. Because my brother mentioned something about how he lives in California. And the guy's like, he's like, "You need to go back there," or something. They were joking around. And my brother goes, "Well, I'm not actually from California.
Yeah.
I'm from New York." And the guy goes, "Even worse." He goes, "Anything on the outside of the country is bad."
Oh my God.
I was like, that's hilarious.
That's a bummer. How about because like I have a good amount of people, and I don't know if if you deal with this anymore, but like I have people around me that like they will ask me about questions about whether it's losing weight, training and stuff. And I might give them a couple cues here and there. But they don't do it because it's like they'll have an excuse for everything. So do you have any advice on trying to like, and I can't approach them with like tough love either because they're just going to run away even faster than they do right now. So like, is there anything that you can help like coach me up on coaching them on just like accepting that it's going to kind of suck in the beginning, but eventually you're going to break through and things are going to end up being way better than what they are now?
It's like a drug addict, okay? They have to want to get help to be helped. You have to want to exercise to be healthy. I can't give you the motivation. You can't buy the motivation. You have to want to do it. No matter what I tell you to do, it might help you for a day or a few days. You got to fucking want to do it. You can't help them unless they want to help themselves.
Yeah.
That's it.
So maybe even.
Do you remember Greg Plitt?
Yeah, I remember.
Yo, that guy was
That's
rough, bro.
Nsima's
He would
boy.
yell at his clients and shit. Like, I'm like a cupcake compared to that guy. You know what I'm saying? He'd tear him down. But like, yo, you can't help somebody if they don't want help. Be like, yo, then you're going to stay fat and fucked up. I'm sorry.
Do you think you should like ask this person, "Do you really want my help?" Like to make sure,
That's
like,
kinda where it's at
like
now, yeah.
I don't know. Like, so I could name people. They're looking for the motivation. You can't look. You have to have it, and you have to want it. You know, maybe something happens to them that gives them that. But until then, there's nothing I could do to help you until you really want to do it.
yeah,
I think there could be suggestions. You could say, hey, like, what did you used to like to do? But if you're trying to convince them that they have to go to the gym and lift, and they didn't come to you asking you like, hey, like I've really been considering lifting, not really sure where to start. How can,
Then I could help.
Yeah, right. Then you could help. But if it's somebody that's like just looking for exercise, I think a recommendation of like, what did you used to do? Like, what did you used to like to do? Hopefully they used to ride their bike or do something with their skateboard, or used to walk with their kids or their dog or something,
Or give them like an insight of maybe some kind of, oh yeah, I used to like to do that. Maybe like, oh, I used to like to play tennis.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't look at that like exercise. They think you just got to like get on the weights and pull a rower for 5,000 whatever.
Right.
But anything. So like, okay, step back with that, right? Mm-hmm. What did you used to like to do? Like got your heart rate up. Think about it, right? I don't know. Did you used to like go hiking or, play pickleball or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Find something, that's what makes someone good. You find something that maybe, and you give them like, and then you start to educate them a little bit, like, yo, you got to get your heart rate up. What did you used to like to get your heart rate up a little bit? And they think, like, oh, I used to like to whatever, play Ghost in the Graveyard by myself. I don't know, and then do that, try to, and then just educate them. Well, you got to raise your heart rate up 3 times a week. So do that. Maybe that's the best suggestion I can give somebody.
Power Project family, I hope you guys are doing well today. I want to give you guys a quick piece of fitness equipment lifting history. The hip circle that you see before you is actually the first hip circle ever. All right, there were no booty bands before the hip circle, which is pretty interesting. That's why you see it in gyms like The Rock. We've seen Kim K using it on Instagram. It is the OG, but that's also why we have the slingshots, gangster wraps, knee sleeves, elbow sleeves, everything that you're going to need in the gym so that you can protect yourself before you wreck yourself. So, Andrew, you tell the people how to get it.
Yes, that's over at markbellslingshot.com, and at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject10 to save 10% off your entire order. Links to them down in the description, as well as the podcast show notes.
You mentioned earlier being like 150 pounds.
Yeah.
How in the world were you 150 pounds, all the pasta around and all the calzones and everything?
I don't know, man. God give it genetics.
Were you like 10? When was this?
No, my dad, I really do have, I have decent genetics. My father's genetics were off the charts. Mm-hmm. Like he was just a pure builder. Like he had muscles on muscles from what I was an old man now. But like when I was a kid, he would like, he'd eat, I think he'd eat olives, ricotta cheese, cereal, and peanut butter jelly sandwiches. He was ripped. 185 pounds and not an ounce of fat on him, had abs. And I was telling you a story before how I knew he was strong. He drove a gasoline truck in the Bronx overnight. So he used his hands a lot in the cold. He was just a gorilla. Right? And then my genetics suck compared to him anyway. And mine are pretty good.
Any good habits that you saw in the family? Like is your family fairly healthy, or?
I'm the only one who worked out. I took this all on my own. Like I'm just blessed that I have genetics, but yeah, I'm very different from everyone else. I caught this and just ran with it and liked it.
And then you had a physical job.
I mean, my father was an athlete, so that, yes, he's not like some guy who just drove a gasoline truck. So he's an athlete. He introduced me to sports, and I'm the one who liked the sports. And from there, though, I took up the weightlifting and the exercise, etc.
He probably didn't overeat, and maybe, I don't know, maybe you didn't have a lot of sweets and junk in your house?
No, I did. Okay. And I just, not tons, but I just grew up on a normal, regular diet, you know? I ate, pasta and rice and fried chicken cutlets, which is still my favorite, and steak, hamburgers. Just genetically, I'm somewhat gifted.
Do you have a big family also?
Somewhat, kind of. Not overly huge, but average, yeah.
Do people in your family, because you're the guy who chose to take up like fitness, do people ask? Yeah. Okay, so this is actually interesting because a lot of people, even Andrew and a lot of people in the audience, probably they pay attention to fitness, so people in their family come to them for things like that, right? How do you guys try to communicate effectively to your family about this? Because one thing I've noticed is that like, when family talks to you about this stuff, they know who you've been, right? So they remember young Mark or they remember young Vinny, right? And they don't take your shit seriously. This is just what I've noticed, right?
Yeah, okay.
How do you communicate to people that are close to you about this shit?
Let's just take, I'm thinking, let's just pick people, right? Let's take my brother or my father or something, and they'll listen to my advice or whatever they ask me. And I just keep it very basic because I know they're not going to do it. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, they're not going to like dive into like, oh, I got to start doing this. They're just going to keep doing the same thing. So I don't really go too far with my family. Okay. I have spewed my knowledge a little bit with them. Maybe just to show off I'm kind of smart and whatever. I don't have to like cut wires all day. But maybe that a little bit. But other than that, them applying that, not really. I'm like the black sheep who just, did this.
Yeah.
What do you think is a way out for America in terms of obesity? Like, what do you think some things, like what can be done? We're talking about there are a lot of people that maybe don't want the help. There's people that are kind of addicted to their food, addicted to their routine and habits. But can you think of like particular things that might be a little bit of a spark? Get people heading in the right direction?
I think people are so uneducated on how bad food could be for you. How food can affect everything that you do, even your mental health, forget physically, everything. I think people look at waffles as food. That shit is just pressed garbage. That's food. That's a breakfast. That's not breakfast. That's candy. Throw some ice cream and syrup on that. You got dessert. You know, or a bagel. Someone the other day goes, yeah, they're that bad. I'm like, what? They didn't know. You can't believe how I think if people were more educated, they would open up a little bit more and make somewhat better choice. Some people, like I said, there's no hope. Some people, I think a lot of people would actually, they just don't know. They're not educated.
That's a great point, because I've asked people before what their favorite food is, and the top 3 things are never actually food. It's pizza and bagels.
That's not food.
And ice cream and cereal.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
All things that are kind of like
they're
not
fantastic. Who doesn't like pizza? There's got to be something wrong with you. You don't like pizza.
Right.
Let me ask this then, Vinny, because like in fitness, you'll see some people who are, they're coaches, right? And they mention like, you don't want to create this relationship, this bad relationship with food where people are like, that's bad. You don't want to demonize certain foods. So you don't want to demonize a waffle or a bagel because that's bad for your mental health when it comes to food. What are your thoughts on that?
So this is with food, right?
This is with food.
I used to roller coaster myself, right? I used to eat 5 cheeseburgers at lunch and this and I got huge and bulky, then go through that dieting phase. It sucked. You looked at that in the negative. That's got to come. You don't do that. Make food a lifestyle. Make it a lifestyle. If you want to get a little bigger, you add a little bit something. I don't really sway too much. If I want to harden up a little bit, I know what to cut back, and sucks a little bit, but not that bad. Increase cardio, cut my late night, whatever I eat, Fig Newtons, whatever I eat, But that's really what it is. You got to make a lifestyle change. So over time, I've learned how to make food taste good and be good for you. And it's also like, so this is what I do with people, right? Basic. I touched on this a little bit in one of my last posts, right? If someone, they come to me, they got to lose weight. I said, you can't look at the whole mountain. You look at the whole mountain, you're like, holy shit, I got to climb this whole mother effer, right? But now, every time you're hungry, right? I don't care if it's now or in 5 hours, make a conscious effort to put something good in your mouth. You're hungry again, make a conscious effort to put something out. Before you know it, you're like, shit, I got a third way up the mountain. That's how you win the battle. Because like I said this before, I'm going to start dieting Monday. I'm going to start dieting. Monday never comes, bro. Doesn't come. You'll keep putting that shit because you think of it in negative. You don't think of it in negative. You put negativity in your head, it's going to be negative. You think you're going to lose, you're going to lose. You have to think you're going to win. That's how it's all up here. They make it out to be something bad. It's not bad. That's
or make it out to be so difficult.
It's not that hard. It's not that hard. It's really not. They make in the head to be hard because that's maybe what's been, ingrained in us.
Yeah, and even if
sucks.
Even if you did good for one day and you messed up on one day, shit, that's 3 days that you did better than probably weeks before, and then you get back on your horse. Right. You do it again. It's hard to be consistent for like a long period of time. Trying to string together 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days of kind of a 10 out of 10 on your diet where you literally didn't have anything. Just even think about it. Think about it. Anyone listening right now, think about it for the last week. Think about everything that you ate, or think about, coming up, like start to pay attention to this and think, when is the last time that you were able to put together one full week where you think you had kind of a 10 out of 10 day in terms of like eating the food that you're in your own head that you're supposed to eat, and not having any of the foods that you're not supposed to eat. It's really, really rare, unless you're like getting on stage for something, unless you have a really particular goal. And I don't even think there's a reason to put yourself into that kind of prison of being that strict, unless that's something you really enjoy.
So to touch on that about writing down what you eat is what you were saying?
Just
kind of recording?
Yeah, writing it down is not a bad idea, but just think about it.
Maybe not so much for maybe the average normal person who's just looking to wait and get over that and beat that battle of just trying to get skinnier. That's easy. Like I said, make conscious effort every time you eat something, and with some knowledge on what to eat. But for someone who's an athlete or a bodybuilder, let's take, right? And it's happened to me. That's how I know. All of a sudden, I'm like, dude, I feel fucking sick today. It's not from what you did that day. It's the day before. And then I'm like, what did I eat yesterday? You only remember having like, fuck, I should have wrote it down. because then you could repeat it and do it again. And what's the saying? Like with that, for example, I do most of the things I practice, but in that case, like I know I should have write it down. I'm so busy, I just don't. You know what I'm saying? Practice what I preach or not what I do. I do it as I say, whatever. It's important. Yeah, it's important though for someone who's so in tune. Just say they are a competitive bodybuilder. Like I know you should record daily what you ate, because there's going to come that day when you feel stupendous. You have to know what you ate that day before and repeat it. Mm-hmm. That's my opinion and advice.
Yeah. And also you did mention something earlier about certain foods being like habitual. It's interesting because we did have a conversation with this guy, Jay Feldman, and it was a great conversation. We kind of were going back and forth on how for some people, eating patterns can be somewhat of a habit, right? So like they're used to eating at this point in time during the day. They're used to snacking on something. So they're not consciously thinking about it. But you mentioned two things that are super important. Being conscious with what you're about to eat, and then like not having a habit of it. Because if you're conscious and if you're someone who snacks all day long, but now you're thinking about what you're snacking on, now as you're snacking on something, you're like, am I really hungry for this right now? Because you're being conscious, as you mentioned, do I need this right now? And maybe you start snacking a little less. And you, working with people, you know how many calories people can take in because they snack.
A lot. So I have, when you were saying, I'm thinking of this one client about like, let's start with just like one day. Right? Mm-hmm. And I hate when people say, I can't do it. You can do it. Yo, the guy who comes to me, he works out hard, he enjoys lifting some weights, but he's fat, bro. You know, and I'm like, and he wants to lose weight. Yeah. And I go, yo, he's like, yo, I can't. I go, stop saying you can't. You can. One, you just don't want to, give me a little effort. Then, like I said, you find out that he blazes every night and just goes ham on like a box of Rice Krispies or whatever, right? I'm like, yo, and I'm ready. Don't start. Well, then you go hormonal and estrogen and all that. But I go, and I'm going to be real. I could say stop smoking weed every day, but that's not going to happen. I go, yo, give me 1 day a week. Give me 2 days a week. Before you know it, you're only smoking weed on Saturday. Keep Saturday forever. So you have something to look forward to, if that's the person you are. And go ham on whatever you want to eat, egg sandwiches and bagels and whatever. You know, and you'll be okay. It's now he's doing it every day. Make that a habit. Shift your habit, you know?
Egg sandwiches. You mentioned it now twice, and now I can't.
I must want an egg sandwich,
dude. They don't have them here. Like they don't have a hard roll. When I first roll, that's what it's called. When I first moved here, I asked for a hard roll, and they're like, "You want a roll that's old?"
Come on, bro.
And I was like, "No, like a hard roll. I want
yo, there's
like
nothing
bacon,
better
egg, and cheese or a
sausage. A Long Island deli, a 2-5 bacon cheese on a roll, banging. I get 2 of them. Sometimes I order so many, I'm embarrassed. I'm like, how many do you want? Want me to get it 5 times?
Yeah.
Or if you get like a buttered roll, there's so much butter.
Oh my God.
Unbelievable. You don't even want
it's
like a half stick of butter on there.
No, you think like Long Island delis, we love them so much, or you know, that they would do great everywhere. They don't. It's like I don't know why. Maybe
I think it would work out here.
It would.
It would work in here, like in this gym.
Yeah. Dude, I hate to derail again, but I think we should touch on the weed thing, because one thing you notice it's legal in California, right? So you see all these young people with like vape pens and shit, right?
Yeah.
But I think like, you know, and you probably, I'm curious about your take on this because you work with a lot of people, so you're probably dealing with certain people who smoke a lot and some who don't. But, you know, if you're not someone who's like really physically active, when you smoke, some people are good at like it makes you hungry, makes you want to eat everything. Some people don't respond to that, but some people do. And if you're trying to get healthier and you don't have physical habits, but you use weed to help alleviate stress so you don't have to think about shit or something like that, whatever, that's a tough thing to break. That's a tough thing to lower the amount of times you do it with, right? So how do you, well, first off, what are your thoughts on weed in general? And then how do you handle, like similar to your client, like what kind of challenges do you see when you're working with a client who smokes often?
Well, they smoke often for medicinal reason is what you're asking me?
Medicinal or recreational? Because a lot of people, medicinal, but a lot of people, recreational.
Most people recreational. There's no one really medicinal that I've come across. So how I could tell you firsthand, my clients, they just smoke weed and go ham on what they want to eat and they're fat. So really, it's not really for medicinal reason why they're doing it. But if someone is doing it for a medicinal reason, right? So they have to smoke weed for anxiety, whatever it may be. Anxiety, I guess. One of my friends says he drinks a glass of wine, smokes weed every night because of his anxiety. But all right, we have to drink a bottle of wine. Anyway. This is it. Right? Anyway, he knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, so you have to give him things to eat, right? So like I'm a master with food. I've learned this over the years, how to make it taste good and be kind of healthy. And like, yo, not just taste good for me, like it tastes good. Give them that as a solution. Like I said, you got to meet me halfway. If you're not willing to meet me halfway, I can't help you. Keep smoking weed, kills your anxiety. You want to eat, you know, whatever, this and that. But what about if you try this? This is pretty good and you'll lose weight. That's my advice.
Okay.
What are some maybe tricks that you have with food, like that are, you know, foods that taste good, that are good for you, that are maybe not super high in calories?
All right. So my thing, I like so this is what it is to get so it's about time too with me. All right. So I eat a very basic, clean diet. You know, maybe it's boring to some people. I enjoy it because I know clean food, how it makes me feel good. Garbage makes me feel like garbage. And I do use condiments. I don't go bananas with them, but let's be real. Like the sweet chili razor, it's tons of sugar, but I like it. You know, so I'll eat like a grilled pork chop, boiled white rice, and I'll have some of that sauce with a vegetable inside. Clean and healthy, but I have some of that sauce, all right? So for me, like foods that make me like taste good, like Ezekiel toast, all right? Some people, you can't eat sandwiches. Yeah, you can. You could have Ezekiel toast or whatever. 4 slices of
Wait, was that Ezekiel bread or
Ezekiel bread? Yeah. It tastes like, you ever have it not toasted?
that Ezekiel bread? Yeah.
Oh man, but you got to toast it. If you toast it, right? I'm just talking about like someone who's like, sandwich is bad, you know, because they've been going to the deli for the past years on their lunch break. So I said, you got to work me a little bit, right? You got to have Ezekiel toast. This is one thing I like. I'm just thought of it because I was kind of dig for a second. What I did for local 3 and lunch, right? Couldn't always heat up my food, or very rarely I'd be eating like one of spackle buckets. So what I did, I made sandwiches. So I made an Ezekiel toasted Ezekiel bread. I'd have a turkey burger or turkey slices from Trader Joe's, Columbus, jalapenos, and then I'd use a smidge of barbecue sauce and a smidge of mayo. But the ratios, it's mostly protein, a little bit of that like non-flour carb, and a little bit of condiment, make it taste good. That's banging. If you can't eat that, you got no hope. So I was saying this before, right? To keep it simple, people. Carbs spike insulin. Insulin makes you fat, and I could get into all that. But now let's look at your dish, your dinner plate. I use it as a pie chart. It's mostly protein, mostly vegetable, a little bit of carb. If you do that, something simple like that, that will help. Instead of piling on the rice, piling on the potatoes, having a little bit of meat, have a little bit of this, big portion of this, and a portion of that, the protein. You understand? That's a simple way to do what I do with my clients.
Do you eat like, how many meals do you eat a day yourself?
Including shakes? Yeah. Feedings, probably like 6.
6? And is that something that like, and during your day, do you end up feeling hungry kind of often? And you just like, you have everything planned though, so it's like, it's not a big deal?
Food prepping is a huge key to not eating bad. So when you're hungry and you're starving and you want to eat your hands, you go to deli, you're going to pick out chips. You're going to go for that extra sandwich instead of making a better conscious effort. It's rare that someone, when you're ravenous, you're like, I'm going to eat the grilled chicken with lettuce. No, you're going to get, a psycho chicken with extra mayo, right? I love mayonnaise. Psycho chicken with extra mayo.
Your decision making is going to be altered.
Yeah, bad, very dramatic.
Ooh, look at that.
So that's...
Yeah,
I believe that's on a hard roll. I never experienced one, so
there it is.
Dripping. God, if you're not watching right now, you need to watch. So
or don't, because it's going to fuck up your diet.
Only if you like.
Yeah, you got to be well prepared, and so it sounds like you want people to have their nutrition be nutritious and to stay on top of it so they don't get too hungry.
So tricks, let me go back to it because now I remember shit as we talk, right? So one of the biggest tools a person could have is a crock pot. Put pounds of meat in. Now just follow a little bit. Dump this in this. Put it in for X miles. Go to work. Come home. You got like 4 days of meat made. Done. Tastes delicious. It's soft. It's easy. Chicken, steak, whatever. Right. That, and then what I'll do, right? Just say dinner. Right. Pork chops. I'll go to the store. I'll buy pork chops for 3 days. Now I'll grill them all one time. Now I have food for the next day. People don't think of that. I've been doing that my whole life, but it's something as simple as that. People don't know to do.
It sounds like you choose maybe like a little bit leaner sources of protein.
I always do. Yeah. I always do. Yeah. I try not to. Being a little bit older and, make a little bit healthier choices. I used to eat pounds of chopped meat a day, and it's not good for your arteries over time in conjunction with anabolic steroids, et cetera. So now I am definitely a little more cardiac conscious health-wise on my food choices, on my saturated fats, definitely.
I think it's smart for people to because I think fats and carbohydrates, I think they both have a way of kind of being a little sneaky and getting into your diet maybe a little bit more than you might think.
You like them.
And they add up quick, a little bit of cheese here and there. If you have 80-20 ground beef or something like that, I mean, that's going to kind of launch your fat calories through the roof. And if you're somebody that doesn't really eat a lot of carbohydrates, maybe you can afford to have a little bit more fat calories. But if you're someone that's kind of riding in the middle, having some fats and some carbohydrates as your main energy sources, then it makes sense to pull down the fat calories a bit.
Yeah.
Not to be scared of them, but to pull them down.
So like this, right? With dieting and food. So someone who, this is what I say, right? You got to find what works for you, right? So, and everything works and everything doesn't work, I believe. I've tried everything. Carb cycling, no carb, keto, and it all works. And then your body, it stops working, right? So you have to understand how the human body works.
Stops being as effective.
As effective.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Because your body's built to get accustomed to everything, adaptation. So now I think about muscle tissue, right? It's not efficient. It's not fuel efficient. It's like a race car. That's why your body's trying to bring it down. You have to keep your calories up, your protein up, otherwise it will shrink down.
Well, and we know this from the metabolism, which is kind of a mythical thing almost, but it moves a lot. Like your target, your amount of calories per day, if you bring down the amount of calories that you eat over a long period of time, your calories will kind of dwindle down. Your NEAT, your non-exercise movement and all that stuff will change. So that's forever kind of, it's a moving target. And so it's important to make small changes in your diet.
So off diet, how I'm going to touch on how your body becomes accustomed to things. I'm going to talk about blood pressure. So me growing up when I was getting big, when I was 185, I went to 210. My blood pressure was through the ceiling. Right, ceiling, bro. Like, it was dangerous. Then I went to 220, and I was thinking about 230, 230 plus. When I went back down to 205, it normalized. You understand? It gets accustomed to its function. So whichever way you act, your body's trying to always fight back to baseline. That's why diets don't work. And also with a cheat day, all right? It's not only to satiate your brain, but it's also there's a scientific reason how you have to offset your body to go back. Because even if you eat egg whites, oatmeal, chicken, your body's going to baseline to that and get normal in your metabolism, and it's going to slow up the fat loss. You offset it with like a whole pie of pizza, not go crazy bananas for 3 days, but you offset it and then you go back. That's what. There's also a scientific reason why you have a cheat meal, not just for your mind.
It does help you dive back in harder too.
Yes, 100%. And then recently someone just said about, you read all this shit like Dwayne Johnson, they show his diet and then he goes crazy on like French toast and all this other stuff. They don't think that you should restrict so much where you got to have a reward day. Depends what your goals are. He's pretty much a brand, not just a human being. So maybe he does have to do that to have the look that he obtains for the masses, and then has to have that cheat meal.
Yeah, and he's been doing that for decades, and I think a lot of people would like to look like him. So it's like, it seems like whatever the fuck he's doing, working great.
Definitely works. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And I mean, that's why a lot of bodybuilding coaches, whatever, talk about diet breaks. You're putting a competitor through this low calorie diet. They're eating a lot of the same things. And then you give them a week of bringing their calories up for a little bit. And then that helps them break a plateau. So when people hear cheat days, because some people are like, you shouldn't need cheat days. A cheat day could function like that.
What pet peeve, right? Refeed? That's like a new saying now. Like refeed?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about refeed, bro? You ate more food today to pump up because you're low carb for like a week? Pet peeve. What's another saying? Refeed. Oh, that's another one. What is it? Pump cover.
The pump cover.
Pump cover refeed. What's another one? I was telling Mike the other day. I was like, what?
The pump cover is a new thing. The pump cover is real new.
A refeed is really kind of funny because like people that really do bodybuilding and people that really get themselves like, I guess, behind in their calories, and they're on like a really low calorie thing, and they're just killing it, and then they have their cheat day or their cheat meal, and they really are kind of refilling their glycogen stores and stuff. But for the most of the rest of us, we're just being fat.
So that I want to touch on a little bit, the refeed, carb cycling, why it works, and how I discovered this, me doing it on accident.
Yeah.
So I did a show when I was a kid, right? I was mentally traumatized. I should have did it like 170. I listened to guys and starved myself down to 150.
Damn.
55.
How old are you?
20. I did the Atlantic States, the Bev Francis Open. I almost won the show. I should have did 175, but you got to make 155. Dude, I was delusional, bro. I sucked my calories so low, my calories. I couldn't even go to the food store. I couldn't walk by the cookie aisle because I was going to lose my mind. That's when it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
All right. So then what happened after I started eating, I blew up to 185, right? Hard. Went up to 210, kind of hard, right? I was never under 200 pounds after that. I was always 187 before that. I was never under 200 pounds, right? So then I looked in. What happens is then you read whatever that your muscle cell, when you starve of I call it the dry sponge effect, right? When you starve your muscle cell of glycogen for X amount of time, when you throw the carb, it's like it soaks up more than was previous there because it doesn't want to go through the starvation again. You cause permanent cell volumization. Remember Dan Duchesne's body opus?
Oh, yeah.
He talks about that. So that's what carb cycling does. And you got to find that right medium with somebody. Everybody has a different way they do it. What works for you and days. You know, Phil Baroni. You remember Phil Baroni? He was a UFC fighter. He's from Long Island. This guy was completely maniac. But we used to hang out when we were younger, right? I don't know if I should tell everyone that. But anyway. So he would do this thing. We used to bounce together. He had the craziest physique, dude. And he would go no carbs all week. I go to his apartment and he'd be in a coma on the floor. There'd be hostess rappers everywhere. I was like, yo, what are you doing? He's like, he would do that for 2 days. He knew what worked for him. The point of what I'm making, he knew what worked. Very genetically gifted and a little crazy, but he knew what worked for him. So like refeeding, carb cycling, that's another scientific reason why it works. You deplete, suck out, you refill. And when you refill like that, I'm not against something that's insulin spiking like a high glycemic carb, like pasta plain. That's when you really pump up. And people like that, that's when you have to write down, be like, I ate X amount, I sucked out, and then you got that result. That's why it's also important to write down what you do.
Let me ask this. As you've gotten older, because you've done a lot of different diets through the years, right? What are some things you've noticed with like how you respond to certain foods or how you respond physically when you eat a certain way? Because with what you described, it seems like you're eating pretty low fat, moderate carbohydrate, high protein, unless I'm wrong. So how have you noticed that you've changed things as you've gotten older?
How I've changed things?
Yeah, diet-wise and even after that, workout-wise.
Okay, so diet-wise, how I've changed things, I pretty much eat consistently the same. My goal is not to be big anymore because of athletic reasons or whatever. I like the size I am. I like to be a little more pumped, a little harder, but who doesn't want to be, you know? You're always just unhappy with yourself. And
yeah,
perpetually.
But yeah, so really with me, right? I keep everything consistently the same. I'm a creature of habit. I'm very regimented. This is the food. This is it, right? I put all my effort in my clients. Now, what were we saying about what else do I do different with food or?
Just how have you responded?
Oh, this is
maybe?
another thing. Okay. Fish. That's when I get so the most shredded. So my thing, after that traumatizing experience with the Atlantic States, my new show was I'd go to Las Vegas and run around a pool party, shredded. That was the most, I was like, why would I stand on stage, have someone judge me when this is awesome, man? I was like, yes. So my goal was to be the most shredded guy at the pool party, and most of the time I was. But I knew the most shredded times I would get there, fish would be my last meal. I knew through trial experience, everyone's like steak or whatever. Steak kept me a little softer.
Like low-fat fish? Like tilapia or something?
Joe, it was gross what I used to do. You don't even know. So like, you know, when I had an apartment and all that shit, I would microwave 2 bags of this frozen tilapia and Minute Maid right. I would do that 3 times a day with whey protein shakes, but I was peeled to the bone.
Just kept that fat low.
Yeah, like none. You know? Actually, the only fat I'm lying I did have on the way home on the train, I'd have 2 scoops of whey protein and a bag of peanuts. I just knew it worked for me. I liked them, and then I looked at them. Holy shit, that's 46 grams of fat. Gave me the energy. Yo, and the end result, no matter what, you got to find what works for you. The end result was I was peeled. That's all that mattered.
How'd you? Let me ask you this: with having your fat that low, I know it was a while ago, but do you remember how you felt? Like
I
you
felt
were shredded,
great.
but you like physically also
I felt
great?
good. Like, I mean, listen, now knowing, like, I didn't feel okay. When I was big and squishy in my 20s and I was benching and squatting like that and eating cheeseburgers and Ritz crackers, I felt like I could look at a weight and go like, I could definitely pick it up. When I started to shred down, maybe that's why I was more susceptible to injury, because I was drier. And I got neurotic about being shredded because I looked doughy for so long. I wanted to be peeled all the time. You know, and maybe I stayed shredded for too long now thinking about it. And that's why I fucked up my muscles, torn lat, torn pecs, and whatever else, you know, in the tweaks that you bring that to light. Maybe that's why.
Okay.
Yeah, you mentioned to me you tore your lat doing a deadlift.
Yeah, I tore my lat doing the deadlift, and something I was doing at the time, and it was my form was just I've done it a million times. I flattened out something. I flattened out that one time, and my lat popped. Did not expect it. It wasn't even heavy. And then 2 weeks later, I was like, I'm gonna squat, and I wasn't even squatting heavy. I was doing 315, and I was banging, and all of a sudden, bang, my quad blew out. Whoa. From there, I was so mentally traumatized, though I was afraid to even put weight, because it wasn't. I tore it bad.
Yeah.
And I just was afraid to put weight on my back like that again, or deadlift like that again.
And that's a nice quad too.
Do you need heavyish weights on you nowadays to keep some size, or does
I do.
your
So
body-
how I learned that, right? So Michael Hearn, he's really smart. But serious, instead, touch the heavy weight, but if you could do weight, do it for 2.
Mm-hmm.
So your central nervous system, your fibers grab it a little bit, but you don't go too far where you can fuck yourself up.
Yeah.
Anytime
his name's mentioned, we just know the comment's going to go crazy.
how do you handle heavy weights now that you're older? Does it bother the joints? Does it hurt?
Yeah, so I said this on one of my last posts. So I'll do certain things like I could lift heavy, like my back, I could still lift heavy, almost normal. Can't do the weight I used to do, but I'm pretty fresh. Shoulders are good, but my pec insertions, I must just genetically not be good. Through my insertion, just very weak, very crumbly, crunchy, So for me to press heavy, I do my machines heavier first. They're locked in, no stabilizer muscle involved. You could just drive. Then I'll move on to dumbbells. And really now if I do a 60, 65, 70, it's not doing the 120. Sometimes your ego gets involved between 65 and 70, and the risk to reward, I'm it feels a little too heavy. I'm it's not worth it. So I'll just keep my free weights in the 20s, 15 to 20 reps, and do my machines heavier.
People don't know what great results you can get from utilizing machines. We had Chris Aceto on the show years ago, or maybe 2 years ago or so, and we've also I've been friends with Charles Glass for a long time, and I've seen different people train different ways but end up getting a very similar result. So I think sometimes everyone thinks they have to hop on the regular bench press with a barbell. It's you don't have to, that's a good exercise. It's a great exercise, but you don't have to do that exercise. So if somebody that has a hurt shoulder or just really struggles with a bench press, I would advise that you still do it here and there, because it's good to examine your weaknesses, but maybe you do it towards the end of the workout. I like what you said about using the machines first and overloading on the machine. You're going to see guys and people that are really strong and in great shape who've used primarily machines, and you're going to see guys that have built their bodies off of primarily using barbells. You can use either one. You don't have to pick one over the other.
So it's there's some people are just meant to press, and they'll just never get hurt. It's about how you feel, how your body's built. Not everybody's an F-150 off the production line. Mm-hmm. Everybody's just built differently. Like I said, I was just never a good presser. I was a very good squatter. You got to find what works for you. So for me and my body type, pressing, and this is my other advice, if it feels funny, don't ignore it. Especially a muscle feel doesn't feel, because I know guys, and I've done it myself.
It's not going to feel better with more weight.
It's not going to feel better if you ignore it. So just say I do want to train that day and it does feel funny, I'll back the weight off and just focus on a different parameter. I'll just get a good pump that day. And there was days, I remember now thinking about it, I picked up 50s to warm up, right? And my working is my warm was almost the same. And I picked up the 50s, I did it for 20.
Yeah.
I go, let me get 25 the next set. Let me get 30. And the thing also, what I noticed as I got old, my body doesn't start to get really rolling, the nervous system, until later. It takes a while for it to start to go. So I remember I did the whole work and I just changed angles with the dumbbells. I go, I had a retardedly ridiculous workout with just the 50s. Why not just stick with that?
Yeah.
And then your ego gets in the way and whatever. And then you work out him and he's doing 90s for 40. And, then old man Vin gets hurt again because I want to keep up with the young cats.
Back up to what you said, though. If it feels funny, don't ignore it. So you're saying if something feels weird in your chest, don't just not work your chest that day. At least try to get blood flow to that area, right?
In a certain sense, yes. If you got to listen to your body.
Yeah.
Listen to your body. If your body's telling you no, then no. But like me, I was smart. If just the other day, recently, I must have pressed too earlier and there was not enough days in between and I went to press again. I'm like, I feel like I could get hurt. I tried to do another set with the same weight. I go, I feel like I get hurt. So I went over to just cable flies. I go, this feels good. I go, let me do another set. I went out doing 6 sets of cable flies. I haven't done that in years. And I got destroyed through my chest because it was a different angle.
Yeah.
Something different. I didn't have to press. I hit my fibers on a different plane. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's super important though, because it's like, Andrew, myself, and Mark too, whenever we have something that feels kind of weird, it's like, it's not that we ignore that area. We just do our best to just drive as much blood to that area as possible in the safest way. And that'll help it feel better much faster. So that's huge what you just mentioned right there. And
sure.
It's an easy habit for anybody.
That also, though, that takes time with experience. So I got these young kids that come over, right? They roll out of bed. They don't warm up. 1 plate, 1.25, 2 plates. I go, yo, like, I forgot what it feels like. I'm like, I forgot that. I'm like, yo, where's you? He's like, well, I'm good. I'm not even kidding, bro. And this other kid, they come over and kids. And I look at him, I'm like, yo, and he look at me like I said something crooked, like, yo, you get hurt. He's like, what do you mean? Until you blow something apart and it scares the fuck out of you, then you'll know. I said, one day you'll know. Hopefully not, but one day you know what I'm talking about. You know?
And some days I think you just have to recognize it's just like not in the cards. And it's hard to figure that out sometimes because you did get yourself to the gym or you did get yourself into this space where you're going to exercise, you're going to run, you're going to do something, but along the way you fucking stubbed your toe, you went to shake up your shaker cup and for some reason your fucking lid wasn't on all the way and explodes all over your car. I mean, there's some times where you're just like, wow, the odds are really stacked against me today. I am just not meant to like go and work out for today. I don't know what's going on, but the universe is against me for today. So it happens that way sometimes, and maybe you just call a little audible, try something maybe slightly different.
I love training. And I'm stubborn sometimes, and I stop doing this. You're not going to let it beat you. I'm not going to let it beat me. I could press today. I'm just going to find a different way to press. Fuck that. And then it's just dumb because you get hurt. But like Tank George, he's big and strong. And he goes, yo, I just go home. It's not that easy for me. It's just not. I just enjoy it and I kind of want to win, and ignore that things are changing on my body because I am like a dinosaur now to this game. But he was smart. It's all because that's why I've never been hurt. I just go home. I'm like, I just not do that. But that's actually the smart way to do it. Yeah.
Being a dinosaur in this game is an advantage because you all have a lot of insight that I guess I wouldn't have or Andrew wouldn't have. So you've been lifting 15 years longer than myself, right? What have you guys maybe seen that's been, within the past 10 years that has maybe been an adjustment to your training? Because sometimes
functional.
Okay, yeah, I'm curious about that because
functional.
A lot of people are like, old schools that like they've been doing it. It's tried and true. There's nothing you need to change. But yeah,
I enjoy functional training. So like someone the other day goes, and I do it sometimes. I don't do a ton of them, but every now and then throw it in. So my cardio. So I don't just lift weights. The older guy, like I said, I was an athlete for it. I still train. I still kickbox, and that's my cardio. Like you run. I kickbox, I hit the big 1 extra day a week. So I do 3 hit days and I lift 3. That's my schedule. So what was I saying about what was I just saying?
Functional.
Oh, functional. Okay. So someone says to me, they show a lot of like guys doing like wheelbarrow carries or like one arm stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really do that anymore because one, I did it for 18 years against my will. I don't really want to do that anymore. I don't have to. That ship sailed.
You're like, why are you moving around a wheelbarrow?
I go, someone goes, yo, do you Mike walks up and down holding 120 pounds. I'm like, nah, bro, I walked across the deck like that, holding a green leaf band. I don't have to do that shit no more, know? But every now and then I'll throw them in because I do enjoy them. And I'll lift, but the functional game, the functional training is what changed, what I've seen, which has a huge aspect on overall health and getting stronger in weak areas, your cardio mixed with strength. But so like, okay, Mike Dolce actually said this about strength, right? And it's really simple, dude. Like you should train in all rep ranges and go to almost failure in all rep ranges. That's how you create total well-rounded strength. 20s, 12, 15 down, 4. Then there's no holes in your rep game. Because I have some of my guys, they just want to do 4s and I made him do 20 on a box squat, he fell apart.
Yeah.
What's so funny?
No, it's just
I'm being serious.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, you see that all the time.
Like,
once you get to that higher rep range, you start to fucking shit your pants.
What happened though, like I'm very good with the reps now. I made myself that way. I can't do the triples anymore just out of fear. So what I'll do, I think it was a while ago, I low boxed, I think for me it was good. I did 245 for like 26. I could do 185 for 30. But that same guy who can't do that will do 455 off the box. I'd be horrified. I can't do that.
Yeah.
Why do you like a box squat?
It's a lot easier on my knees. Now that you find things that work, but it's a lot.
Still a squat, right?
Still a squat. The transfer for me is my patella tendons. The transfer for down to up. And when I squat, I see these guys squat at the gym and go, yo, what are you doing, bro? I go, bro, I used to sit on my ankles. I sit so low. One time on a Cybex Smith machine with 405, my foot would duck out. I sat so low, my ankle separated from my foot, and I dropped the weight.
Shit.
Yeah, that's how low I used to sit with all my squats. That's a real squat. Yeah. So anyway, what it is that's a real squat. So the patella tendon, to transfer the weight for up and down. So I found the box. It took away the pressure. So a lot of guys actually, they say you lose inertia and momentum by sitting and slumping, but like it works for me, and I'm really strong with that. Or pin squats, I like too.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's a great way to take away a level of fatigue that squatting all the way down would get you. Like you can still work a decent load, you can still do a lot of reps, you can still get the benefit of squat, and you're not fucking beat down the next day to do other shit.
I could definitely say though, like for me, a back squat, putting weight on my back and moving weight off my back, my legs grew the most doing that. Over hack squats, over lunges, and they work, they're good, but nothing made my legs grow like putting heavy weight on my back and just moving in full range of motion.
I think finding exercises, I think, to kind of go back on some of what you were saying, like having experience and just understanding that there's so many exercises to choose from. And I remember being a personal trainer and working with people, and I said, please always let me know if like you like something hurts, like your wrist hurts and you're doing push-ups, your knee hurts and we're doing a lunge, like just tell me, because this exercise is not so specific that we have to have this one particular movement in here. If you go to do a lunge and it hurts, maybe we can do a lunge where you lunge backwards and maybe you'll find relief in your knee. If you go to do a squat, maybe we can do a box squat. If you go to do a certain movement and it hurts, maybe we can shorten the range of motion. Like we can always find a way. And so for today, for my training, I did some box squats. I did some with chains. I did some deadlifts with some bands. The bands and the chains, the weights are lighter at the bottom, so it feels more comfortable for me. I've become accustomed to them, so for me, it's an advantage to do those movements because I'm more comfortable with those because I've used them before. Now, it also makes sense for me to sometimes get out of my comfort zone, right, and do something I haven't done in a while. So I will express some full range of motion squats, but I'll probably do it in some other way than just putting weight on my back. So I think just trying to strategically find exercises that you like and enjoy. If you go down to do dumbbell tricep extensions and your elbow goes on fire, there's no reason for you to do the prescribed 5 sets of 12 that you're supposed to do for the day. Find something else so that because that elbow is going to flare up for that workout. It's going to hurt the next time you work out. And the most likely is just going to keep getting worse and worse. And you can prevent it just by switching exercises.
Yeah. That's why there's such a variety of exercise and different handle apparatuses to hit different angles. So it's really like, it's simple. It's like, if it hurts, bro, don't do it. So physical therapists I go to, right? It's excellent, very known game changers, a ton of fighters, Mike Camp and John Amato. They keep it simple, like a lot, like, and they're great there. They don't milk you. You go there 2 sessions, you're feeling good. And they're like, I'm like, Mike, could I do something? He's like, yo, does it hurt? I said, no. He goes, then do it. If it starts to annoy you a little bit, don't do it. It's that simple. It really is. Why am I going to force something against something my body telling me no? Don't do it. There's so many different angles and planes you could take to get to the end result you want.
Do you ever mess with like myofascial release type stuff or you get massages or anything like that?
I do when I have the time. I like a deep tissue massage. I feel great. So like this, right? So with kickboxing and stretching. The only time I could feel really loose through my hips when I was going to my massage therapist once a week consistently, and then he would stretch me for a half hour after. Absolutely felt great, and I was less prone to injury with the stretching. So why also another reason why I think I was, pretty banged up and very susceptible to injury is lack of stretching and not being nearly as mobile through my hip girdle and through my body, which caused my muscles to tear.
So do you do any of that now? Do you like stretch often now?
Could you find me the time to do it? I mean, really, you can find the time to do anything, right? So there's choice. Choice. So I train somebody instead of that time. Yeah. That's usually what I'll do. So my time is very limited. So I squeeze my workouts in. I choose the things I enjoy to do at the time. A smart person would be like, I should stretch today and not go bananas on, lunges or whatever. But I don't do that because I'm dumb and whatever.
I'm going to show you some myofascial release stuff today that can be fairly quick and easy. I think it will change.
Yeah, I
be a
was actually
game
going to ask you to help me a little bit.
I think it'd be a game changer for you because like I've been doing it and I don't really stretch. I still just haven't made the commitment to it. I should make the commitment to it.
David literally said 30 seconds.
Yeah, I know.
30 seconds.
Yeah, so
I am-
the one thing I understand
Yeah.
about stretching is it's not how long you do for at one time. It's how
Yeah, right.
small mini breaks consistently throughout the day.
That's exactly
Bang,
what-
bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this guy was talking about. But I mean, I do stuff that is helping my mobility. I just am not like specifically taking designated time to stretch, which I think for me, I personally could probably use because sometimes in the beginning you need to be like a dedicated effort, so I probably could literally use like 20 minutes a day to do some of that stuff. But the myofascial release stuff has been really important for me. And in my opinion, it works similar to stretching, not the same, but for me, sometimes when I would go to stretch, I may not even feel a certain type of stretch that someone might mention. They'll say, oh, you feel it here. And I didn't, because I didn't have access to that because my muscles were just kind of bound up.
Sure.
They felt like they were knotted up. And once you get that knot out of there, then you can start to move a little bit better. And that's what I'm experiencing now.
Stretching also, it's effort.
Yep.
It's effort to stretch. It's not like nothing. So I do see like they have these places by me called like Stretch Zone and Stretch Lab. The half hour you go and they pull you apart. I never went. I heard it's fantastic just because I don't have the time.
They have them here in Sacramento too, I think.
Okay.
Or like Techno Gym makes this stretching machine. My friend at Lifetime showed me. He was on this thing and showed.
So it is Techno Gym?
No, the gym, like the brand. You ever see Techno Gym? You've seen it.
Yeah,
It's big in
Techno
Europe,
Gym.
yeah.
When you go to do say a bench press or something, the whole machine moves. Kind of.
No,
stuff?
that's
different brand. Okay,
that's some other brand.
but anyway, Techno Gym is
They make actually pretty good presses and stuff. Anyway, they make this stretching apparatus. And the point is, if like you had something like available to you, I would just sit in it and just, you don't have to really do it that much,
Something like that, or
Yeah, that's actually what he had. So this is what it is. So what I found was easy for me, right? Because I'm pretty tight through my hamstrings and hips.
Yeah.
I use like a rogue, like a band, like a 30-pound band, and I'll lay on my back and I'll pull my leg in that angle.
Yeah, we messed
very
with that
little,
before.
very little effort. I pull my
Yeah.
But now you're not.
Hmm.
Makes it a lot easier actually. I discovered that on my own.
That's legit right there.
yeah.
You could lean back on that and get your.
They have I've seen like lunge machines that are a little bit like that before too.
Lunge machines?
Yeah, like a lunge, like where you could like slide, like your foot's on like a slider.
Oh.
Yeah, you could slide your foot forward, and then it has like weights that you could grab at the side. It looks a lot like that.
You know what actually I started really doing, me and Mike actually started doing was lunging forward, knees over toes, with your foot elevated up on a block.
Oh yeah, that feels
I
good.
couldn't believe the difference on my knee, how much better the leg workout and stimulation was.
Yeah.
I kind of used to avoid lunges a little bit. I would do them, but do them lighter, and I always felt like my knee didn't feel too good. I did them, there was zero knee pain. So the goal of doing that elevated, what you work yourself down to baseline floor, you see like, my knees probably just went through so much damage for the years. I'm trying to reverse it back.
Yeah.
Oh, it's interesting. I mean, we're taught when you squat that your feet are supposed to be flat, and then we're taught when you squat that you're supposed to break parallel. We're taught all these things, but for people that have knee pain, you actually would be surprised. For a lot of people that have knee pain, if you actually just flex your calves and you get your heels off the ground slightly, not only will your mobility improve as you go down in your squat, but you might notice that your knee pain may go away. Not for everybody, but I've noticed that to be the case. And it's like, well, why do we have this? Why do your feet need to be totally flat when you squat? I mean, who's to say?
Yeah.
All of it's made up. These are all made up. It's artificial exercise because we don't move as much. We don't do the manual labor, and we need to try to think of ways to
I'm
do
sure
it.
that didn't help my body too much though either.
Yeah, well, it may have helped in some ways to build some sort of strength.
I definitely have
guys
odd,
that you
definitely have odd strength from it. Like
have guys that you fought been like, bro.
well,
like,
what is
the
my
fuck?
my grip strength
Okay.
is silly. And I'm not really that strong anymore like I was, but I have weird strength. Like I
You
can't
think that's from construction though? Because I've rolled with construction workers,
Yeah, that's what
dog,
he's saying, yeah.
and they're
my grip, dude.
Yo.
So I don't know if I could really do it now, but like I could take a bump of 45 and flip it and almost I was able
Wow.
to catch it. I don't know if I could do it now. But like my friend Gregor, who's the wrestler, just
That's
the alpha
impressive.
mentality. Everything I do, he's got to do it better. He's like, I could do that. And and he's a strong guy and he really couldn't do it. Wrestlers have an odd grip, but I definitely have a silly grip because what I used to do at work a lot was feeding in those cables. You'd have to hold the cables manually to get around the bed or the floor in the cold for hours, and I would shift it. So it was almost like choking somebody, shifting the stress in a different way, but I was trained against my will. You know what I mean? Just holding. And I remember my forearms being on fire. But
I was gonna ask, did you ever train your forearms?
No,
Because
bro.
your shit's just fucking.
dude, I don't I wish my upper arms were like that. I look like this silly deformed pot pipe. I don't really train forearms. I don't. People are like, and my grip is silly. I could hold 405 and 315, but like everything else fell apart on me. You know?
Andrew, got anything else?
Yeah. How about like how has your Instagram or your social media been received? Like, are you getting like majority positive comments, or you still have to deal with like trolls and shit?
So
like
this
that?
is what happened right off the bat, right? It went off so fast. I started reading all comments, and I was like taking that shit to heart.
Oh.
I was like,
Well, in the beginning, so much of it's so positive, and then it just doesn't.
yo, and then like, I'm like, yo, you didn't read the whole thing. 2, where's your face on there to show your face like a man, to show who you are, coward, right? And
That's the
then 3,
best.
so my guy was like, yo, stop looking at it, bro. You're gonna drive yourself crazy. Post it and ghost it. Post and ghost it. Only until he tells me, yo, go look at something to respond. Negative, positive, and I just answer it, whatever. But like the stupid comments, it used to get to me, and I'm like, whatever.
You just don't read them anymore, huh?
No, I try not to.
Yeah,
I
that's-
heard David Goggins' take on this more recently. He was on Joe Rogan again, and he said the haters are never going to do it the way that you do it, so fuck them. And I thought that was a really good response. Like the person that is commenting on you, the person that's making the negative thing about how maybe you're teaching the wrong form on a bench press or whatever the fuck it is their conjecture is towards you, they don't know any better than you. They certainly don't know any better than
Denzel
you.
Washington
They're
just recently said,
yeah.
he goes, anybody who hating you is somebody who's not doing anything themselves.
Yeah, they're
Anybody who's hating on you is someone not doing it themselves.
Yeah, they're
so
not on
why I
par with
also,
what you're doing, yeah.
so why I did this also, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit shy on what people think. I stopped giving a fuck what people thought, and it worked out. But I stopped caring. I really didn't. Who cares? Because you're not doing anything yourself. That's why.
right.
You know.
I will say, like, y'all are great because y'all don't read comments. I read comments. That it's not good to read comments, but I do. But I do find that, like, you know, sometimes there's some beneficial criticism in there, even though a lot of it is just pretty bad. A lot of it's like somewhat mean, right? Sometimes there's some good shit in there, right? Sometimes some people have some shit to say.
but the percentage is very, very, very low.
Overall, you still probably shouldn't read that shit because, yeah, that shit. People on the
mean.
internet, they can really dig in. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So I also think, like, you know, you're in this category because your Instagram is you have a lot of posts, you know, and we just create so much content here. It's like I say so much stuff that anything could be taken out of context at any time to make me look whatever way somebody wants to make me look. So that's just the way it is. So I'm not going to try to get into a battle with somebody over that.
I got you. I understand. Yeah.
You know, you communicate so much, you say so many different things, and so are you always going to say the exact right thing?
No, and I'm a horrible critic of myself because I know what's going to happen. I'm going to leave and be like, oh man, I should have said that. It's never perfect. So this is the thing. It's just me. Everything's got to be perfect, but nothing in reality is perfect. Nothing's ever a perfect situation or anything. That's another thing. So like also like reading that stuff though and trying to answer in a correct manner and just reading that, it gets to my brain, so I just don't do it.
Yeah.
How do you create content? Is it a lot of it created now just from the comments almost? Like people
So
asking
what we
questions?
do? Okay, so I told him, I go, this guy. So listen, man, I have something to tell everyone because I saw what happened at that party. Like I said, I just don't know how to project it. So we tried something. He came up with these topics to talk about, which had nothing to do with any of the posts. And it was just my mouth going. And he chopped it up and edited it. And then he's like, yo, that worked. Let's do it again. And then I got deeper. And then all of a sudden I started getting 10,000 a day. And then we just stuck with that protocol. That's all we do. We sit down. So now I come up with, I write down something. I have a list of stuff to talk about, pet buys, whatever. And then I just go on a ramble. We have a conversation. Sometimes you start talking about jujitsu, and then I'll pull back to it. It's a conversation. That's all it is.
Yeah. You ever thought of doing a podcast?
I don't know. He said I should.
You should.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
One thing that's interesting about you, and I'm curious if like this has just happened through the years for you, and you've just been good at it. Your ability to just tell engaging stories, because when you talk about certain things, like you're just pulled into it. You know what I mean? So, is that something that you've worked on, or
No,
is that
natural,
just
bro.
natural storyteller? huh?
Natural. I used to tell all my just natural. I like to give full detail because I still want someone to do that to me.
Yeah.
I like to be there. You know, I would sit on a spackle bucket at work and I'd call and I'd tell these stories and these guys would get pulled in because they have nothing else going on in their lives. I'd be their entertainer. I'd miss work. They were disappointed. I get transferred off a job. Like, shit, you're going? I got no more stories. I didn't just create it for that, but I like to engross people in my stories and I tell the truth from my heart.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
There we go.
Do you ever see yourself potentially with like how big your social media is growing, like ever like not working with in-person clients just because you have like a lot of interest online? And
I'll
stuff
always
like that?
train Mike. Mike's my boy. I always train him. I train him a couple people, but really like, I really ideally would love to be able to focus more on myself. And what it is a lot of people are like, I need time for I do spend time with my kids, so I sacrifice. It's time. What are you going to sacrifice? Am I going to sacrifice training for stretching? I sacrifice the client tonight with my son. How am I going to monetize my time and my brain? And here we are. Hopefully it goes in the right direction.
Absolutely.
What's one of your favorite stories that you shared so far? Did you have kind of a?
I don't know, man. I like telling all my stories. I mean,
Yeah,
I got more too, you know? So I don't know. I like
have
all my
one-
stuff.
You have any that stick out?
Probably, I like to tell how I, started in the gym, how I grew my gym. We didn't show a video of my
Yeah, maybe it's what is it, on YouTube or something?
my buddy. If you look up SGG contracting, right, he actually did a video edit of it and shows it when it's not done and then done. You know, he was good at that. I'm terrible with that shit.
On YouTube or?
No, I'm sorry, not on his Instagram. It's SGG contracting.
I'll find it.
Yeah, it's one of the, I can't remember, but they show, him coming up to my facility and then he scrolls.
You got
around
any
with
good,
something.
with all these different supplements and different foods, you got any poop stories for us? That's
been a
kind
long time.
It's been a long time since we had a good poop story on the show.
Well, we'll
Or
talk
maybe
about
from yourself during a set of squats, or maybe from somebody else that you saw in the gym going through a hard time.
Does it have to correlate to working out or?
No,
not
just
necessarily.
your best poop story. 'Cause I
All
feel
right,
like
so
some
one
people-
that slides in my brain right now, I'm going to tell the public. My wife might be happy. we were probably like first dating, right? And it was a New Year's Eve party. I was drinking, and we're laying next to each other. I think I might have been naked, and I went to squeeze out a fart and laid one on her leg.
And she stayed with you.
And she stayed with me.
That's a
Wait, was she
keeper.
asleep though? Like
She was asleep. Made her
So-
woke up. I'm like, oh my god. Now that's a good poop story.
That is a
That is
good poop
great
story.
solid.
Damn.
I can't. Let me. Well, first off, is this the?
That's
right
it.
one?
Yeah. Go
Okay.
down. I think it was like last year though when we built it.
This is
That's
a
it
while
right
back.
there. The one, the gray.
This
Yeah,
one?
you go.
Okay.
You gotta put the music on. The music goes with it. So that's my yard. That's the back of the yard. That's it before it was finished.
I like some EDM.
Yep.
Beat drop. Okay.
Nice.
Very nice.
Do your clients do anything out in the grass?
Yeah, I do some functional stuff there. Yeah, see, I got the ties. I got some sleds and shit out there.
Yeah. That's a nice spot.
Yeah,
Lots of kettlebells.
some kettlebells,
Functional.
dumbbells, but in that far corner, I got a leg press. My favorite thing is the old school Cybex Smith machine is one of my favorite machines. And what I did, I made it unique. You know how a Smith machine has like the rebound, it has like the negative, it holds
Right,
it back
right.
a little.
Yeah.
I took those off. So essentially, it's like a free weight on a slider. It's heavy.
What do you like about the Smith machine? Some people diss it, but like it's
Love it. It's
Yeah.
locked in. I feel safe. I could go kind of heavy and safe. It takes away like, I squat deep on it. And it takes away that little bit of percentage where I could feel like I could get hurt a little bit. It's still, don't get me wrong, I've gotten hurt on it still.
Yeah.
But like it takes away that 10% where you could get hurt.
Good enough for Chris Bumstead. Should be good enough for anybody else.
Yeah,
right?
he did all right with it, right?
I've seen him utilizing it before. Andrew, want to take us on out of here?
Sure thing. Thank you, everybody, for checking out today's episode. Make sure you stick around for Smelly's tip before we get out of here. For everything podcast related, including like a bunch of really cool new shit, head over to powerproject.live. Links down in the description as well as the podcast show notes. Follow the podcast at MB Power Project on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. My Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter is at I am Andrew Z. Nsima, where are you at?
I'm tripping. Was your real name Vinny though, or is that what they?
No, that's
call you?
my name.
That's your Vinny. Okay.
That's my name.
Just making
Yeah,
sure.
my name's Vinny.
I thought for some reason the podcast mentioned they just started calling me
It's like,
Vinny.
yeah, my name's Brad.
At Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube. Get the Discord down below. Vinny, where can people find you?
My Instagram, Vinny Uzi, at Vinny Uzi, pretty much is the best place to find me.
YouTube also.
No YouTube yet. Soon.
Okay.
Soon. Soon. We got a lot of requests for it, so it's going to be coming soon.
Let's go.
Today's tip, I'm just going to steal from you because you talked about Mike Dolce mentioning to do many different rep ranges. So I just want to encourage people to do that because I think that's really wise. Do your sets of 3, your sets of 4, and why not, work your way up to sets of 20. It just changes the exercise so much and changes what you're doing. So if you're doing incline dumbbells and you just go as heavy as possible and you hit a set of 5, and then maybe the next workout you go to do incline dumbbells and you do a heavy set of 20, that is just a way, way different workout, way different demand on the body, way different response from the body. So I think that's really wise to try. I'm at Mark Smelly Bell. Strength is never weakness, weakness is never strength. And before I go, I got to give you some of this hostage tape. This is mouth tape for when you sleep. And a mask as well for the eyeballs. I think there's tape in here. No, maybe there's nothing. Maybe there's
Do you
some
snore?
Load it up.
Not anymore.
Okay, good.
When I was big and heavy,
thicker.
I used to choke myself on my wife's bedroom floor. I used to sleep there, but
Boy.
not anymore. Yeah.
That'll
All right,
help.
we're out of here. Strength is never weakness, weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.
Bye.